It is 6:30, so I guess we will go ahead and get started with the meeting. Actually, I think we're gonna do it after. So we'll do the roll call.
Present.
John Valancourt.
Here.
Paul Anderson. Here. Colton Martin. Here. Sean Mayfield. And Max Boyd.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. So we'll go ahead and move on to the approval of the agenda. I would actually like to move up the State of the City address to the top so we can get it out of the way. It's a requirement that we do that within 90 days, so it's not really new business.
We'll do the pledge.
Yeah, we'll do the pledge. So
Now.
Yeah, we can do it now.
That's what I thought.
Before we get started, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So now with the agenda, if nobody minds, we can move the State of the City address to the top.
On item G, animal control, Debbie McDonald had reached out. She wanted to talk about that, and that was before I knew it was on there. If we could,
She actually called and said that she was not going to be here. Her and I talked about it as well, and pretty much all the information I had, she had expressed with me as well.
thank you.
So,
Motion to approve the amended agenda. Second.
all right. So the motion to approve the amended agenda in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. So we'll take this time for public input. So anybody that would like to make public input or ask questions, please come to the podium, state your name, where you live, and talk to us about whatever you want to talk to us about. No public input? Okay. So we'll move on to approval of the minutes. Have you guys had a chance to read the minutes?
Yes, sir. I just have one question. Under old city business, the police vehicle striping, since it was just a voice vote, we don't need to list who's opposed, being me. It's a question.
Well, your name's not there as opposed, it just says one of those.
I'd like my name there.
You want your name there?
That's all right.
That's fine.
Thank you. I had no other changes.
That was for the February.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. February.
Just to clarify, just to make sure.
Yes, the February
13th.
February 13th, yes, under old business, A.
I hope this computer's not going to give us trouble, but there it goes.
A long meeting.
I was going to say, I've never had it take this long.
That's odd.
This
Yeah.
is my personal computer, and we won't be using this at the next meeting, hopefully. We've got new laptops that we will hopefully be able to utilize. Will the Chromebooks attach to that? So they will, I think.
Well, this is saying July 4th and it's 6:53. I mean, I can see the agenda fine, but
Okay.
I don't know if that's our apocalypse or.
So all those in favor, do we have a motion to approve the minutes with the amended?
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, we have a motion in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Also for the November 23rd minutes, I think we have to approve the changes for those.
You mean
The 14th or the 25th?
No, the November. I'll pull it up.
14th is November 14th minutes.
Yes.
And so we have to reapprove because why? Error. Okay.
Sorry.
It wasn't voted on properly.
I've read these. I'd make a motion to approve.
second?
for a motion and a second to approve the November 14th minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. So I'll go ahead and do the State of the City address at this time. Good evening, everyone. I'm pleased to announce that the state of the city is strong. I would like to recognize each of our elected and appointed officials of our city council and thank you for your service to the city of Goshen and our residents. Let me also take this opportunity to recognize and thank our members of the Goshen Planning Commission, the Goshen Parks Commission. You each bring experience and talent to these commissions that are invaluable to our city and our progress towards the future growth of our city and our region. I would like to thank our city staff at City Hall, Miss Kashana Williams and Mrs. Lacey Lawson. Without these two amazing and professional young ladies, I could never have accomplished what we were able to accomplish over the last year. Ms. Williams has consistently gone above and beyond to serve all our residents in managing City Hall and keeping us in alignment with local, state, and federal regulations of municipal government. Mrs. Lawson has quickly become an integral part of our team and has excelled. She has taken on city zoning and planning as our zoning official, working closely with Mr. J.D. DeMott, our city building inspector. While Mr. DeMott is not working at City Hall, he is always available when needed for his assistance. And we appreciate the expertise he brings to our city as our building inspector. We have been able to fully staff our infrastructure facilities management department and have already seen a significant improvement in our ability to complete projects more efficiently. I would like to thank Mr. Dave Gatlin and our newest employee, Mr. Ivan Ivanikov. They have been working tirelessly to improve our city's infrastructure and our facilities. They work to do anything that is asked of them, from setting up building for meetings, to building trash cans for our public spaces, to picking up trash along city streets, to changing street signs, to maintaining city equipment, and the list never ends. I give my deepest gratitude to both of these men for their dedication and hard work. Thank you to the Goshen Police Department for their unwavering dedication to protecting our residents and keeping Goshen safe. You each give so much of your time, attention, enthusiasm, and integrity to your profession. We are truly appreciative of this level of professionalism and character you bring to our city. Chief Travis, you consistently raise the bar and exemplify the ideals of excellence in law enforcement. Your team, Captain Doug Stewart, Sergeant Jesse Sorrell, Corporal Nathan Snipes, and Officer Raul Monzo, are all to be commended for your commitment to upholding the law. As I have gotten to know each of you over the past year, I feel proud that you each continue to give your all in protecting our great city. Thank you for your service. And finally, I would like to thank our partners throughout the city, Goshen Fire District and all the firefighters who volunteer to protect our community, Anderson's Gas and Propane, Phillips 66 Fast Track, Poncho's Mexican Restaurant, Dollar General, Goshen Arbor Board, Goshen Riding Club, Goshen Extension Homemakers Cooperative, the Goshen Historical Society, the Goshen Senior Center, Goshen Farmers Market, and all the other businesses and nonprofits that bring life to Goshen. We truly appreciate the impact your services provide for our citizens and communities. Anyone who lives in Goshen understands what an amazing place this is and how there are very few communities like ours anywhere in the world. We have a deep history, with many of our residents having been here for several generations. We also have many that have moved here because of Goshen's beauty and tranquility. Our city holds on to both rural and suburban fervor and is primed to experience tremendous growth over the next decade as our region continues to expand and develop. This rapid growth creates both a desire to preserve what we love about Goshen, as well as an excitement to explore new possibilities. Sometimes it's easy to be torn between preserving what we feel familiar and embracing new progressive approaches. I understand this well as a Goshen local with 4 generations of our family still living in Goshen. I believe this is possible if we balance our priorities while working on delivering the best outcomes for our city and our community. Tonight, I would like to recap some highlights from the work accomplished in 2023, as well as work that we have already begun in 2024. In 2023, we were able to dramatically change our approach to budgeting with the addition of a finance committee looking at how to streamline our fund accounting within the software program that is utilized by the city in order to better track expenditures. This has allowed for up-to-date transparency with our accounting software mirroring our bank accounts in real time. Along with this additional oversight through a finance committee, we were able to put an additional $600,000 in CDs last year, pushing our year-to-date CD funds over $998,988, nearly $1 million. These CDs allow us to earn over $22,000 last year. This, coupled with our current general fund balance of over $725,000 and a street fund balance of over $270,000, we are fiscally prepared for the future. I would like to personally thank Mr. Jerry Jackson and his firm at Jackson Wealth Preservation Group for providing services to the city of Goshen free of charge, helping to streamline our accounting practices for the city. You have dedicated significant hours of service and training to the city staff that have been nothing short of priceless. Thank you, Mr. Jackson. After improvements supported by our city council, we were able to update our contracts with service providers to improve our website, develop new processes for online building permit applications, and online capabilities for on-site real-time building inspections. These improvements have saved countless hours and streamlined processes. We also purchased 3 computers last year for City Hall, added an on-site firewall, on-site server, and cloud backup. We have subsequently purchased 2 additional computers this year for our police department for improved efficiency. Although we had some difficulties with our initial IT services provider in 2023, we have successfully transitioned to a company that has been delivering excellent quality and support in 2024. We were able to renovate much of the interiors of both City Hall as well as the community building, with more renovations underway this year. These have breathed new life into both buildings and have assisted us in becoming better equipped for the future. We look forward to completing both of these projects in 2024. Through our Parks Commission and their fortitude in obtaining grants, we are now overseeing and administering these grants for the completion of numerous projects for the improvement of Mill Branch Park. The Parks Commission is also looking forward to expanding the existing community center park with the addition of picnic tables and a secondary playground in 2024. They are working on many exciting new ventures with a focus on developing projects that will bring enjoyment to our community. From early 2023 to present, the city has purchased improved equipment for better maintenance of our parks and other open spaces throughout the city. We have been able to commit significant resources to our streets and bridges over the past 14 months, with tree trimming, applying gravel to roads, grading roads, resurfacing streets, replacing and clearing culverts, repairing and replacing guardrails, and purchasing concrete tiles at deeply discounted prices. We will continue to work on these projects, as well as replacing all street signs within the city by the end of the year with easily visible reflective signage. Looking more towards the remainder of 2024, we have many goals to accomplish. We are looking to annex our most westerly growth area to help grow our city and increase our revenue with an anticipated $100,000 to $300,000 in potential increased revenue. Our planning subcommittee is working diligently to look at our future footprint for commercial zoning. We are eager to look for how we get better connected as a city and for additional grant opportunities to help accomplish this goal. Safety is of utmost concern as well for this administration. We are proactively looking at ways to make our infrastructure and public facilities safer. This should include the installation of cameras for surveillance, bullet-resistant glass coatings, and better security for building entry. We will also analyze ways to improve the safety of city streets, city intersections, and decrease crime. We have requested assistance from the Arkansas Department of Transportation, better known as RDOT, to evaluate the intersection of State Highway 45, Goshen Tuttle, and Blue Springs to determine if a stoplight at this intersection would be beneficial for traffic safety. RDOT will soon begin resurfacing Highway 45 starting at Anderson and working their way east to Hinesville. Once this phase is completed, they will be returning to Anderson and working during the night to complete the resurfacing of Highway 45 going west back to Crossover Boulevard in Fayetteville. I know we are all eager to have this project completed and have been assured that it will be completed by November of 2024. Please allow yourselves extra time during this process, as there may be some impact on traffic patterns. As part of a safe environment and safety of our city, we will start the enforcement of ordinances that were not consistently enforced previously. These will include things like unkept properties that can pose safety risks to surrounding neighbors, swimming pool fencing, aggressive or threatening animals running loose in our city, and others that impact the safety of our citizens. We have put into use our retired patrol vehicle for code enforcement, allowing us to the ability to deliver violation notices in a clearly marked city vehicle. While we do not want to disrupt or cause angst by enforcement, we understand its need for the safety of all of our citizens who these violations may impact. Things I would like for our city to consider for our future: how to get Goshen more connected and accessible for walking and biking, becoming greener as a city, and investing in green energy alternatives such as solar energy, investing in electric vehicles, and continuing to remain a tree city. Let's consider better ways we can bring recycling to Goshen, how to improve our main access corridor on Bowen Boulevard, while working to get Goshen connected to the Northwest Arkansas Greenway system of trails. We should plan for improvements to our fire and rescue services while expanding our city limits through annexation of areas vital to our growth and development. Let us strive to improve services for our older adults and those with disabilities. Protect our way of life while moving thoughtfully forward by proactively planning for tomorrow's future. In closing, I would like to take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to the residents of Goshen for their support, encouragement, and engagement over the past year. This administration's #1 goal and will continue to be to serve our city and each of our citizens with humility and respect. All these things can be accomplished if we work towards a better tomorrow, respecting our past and leading purposefully for our city's future. We must be better to do better. Let us be a team vigorously working for all of our citizens. Let's lean into 2024 and beyond, unified in bringing growth and development to Goshen. Let's keep the state of our city strong. Thank you, and may God bless our great city. Thank you. And we will now move on to our reports. And the financial report is going to be the first. So I'll read the financial report. As of February 29th, 2024, the general fund has $733,978. The street fund has $274,789. The Police Act 988 had $3,314.03. And our CDs combined is $998,988.40. And I think we have a combined total with the HUD, RDOT, State Park, where we kind of have these accounts for placeholders of $1,006.68. There was a CD report, and I think I need clarification, Marjorie. There was an error on the addition under CD number 143043. It says that there was interest of $3,291.04, but when I calculated it, comes out to $3,281.04. So I'm not sure if the balance is wrong or if that number's wrong, subtracted from the initial. We can just look at that and figure that out. So, any questions about the financial report?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve in a second. All those any public input before we vote? Okay, all those in favor? All right, motion carries. So we'll move on to the police department report. Chief Travis.
We had 33 total charges, 7 criminal, 1 PCA, 6 injury reports, 1 security violations, 2 DWIs, and 81 citations.
You say 150?
So, Chief, I don't want to cause any work. Your report's always very thorough. I think we might need to start thinking about how we compare to years past. You know, it feels like, at least in Fayetteville, violence is increasing. I mean, I'm seeing at the hospital lots of more gunshots, and not that we have that, thankfully, out here yet, but I think we might need to trend what's happening. So just for consideration.
Any other questions? Thank you for your service and thank you for the report. You have a question.
I have a question. On Waterford had fire. She doesn't get in the face to fire.
Betty, that came to the board, and everything I was told was Everybody got in fine.
The only person that I think had to do with the sheriff.
I actually went down there. There were 3 fire trucks, 2 Goshen officers. Jesse was there. I don't know where Jesse went. So I think they got it, as far as I know, fine. I saw it.
I'm one of the people with dog issues. Do I have to write by? Okay, sheriff's right. Any Frank? Any Frank? Okay.
Ammonia and water.
Okay.
Ammonia and water works too.
My water.
No, ammonia and water.
Oh, ammonia. Okay.
Thank you, Jesse. All right, we'll move on to the street report at this time. Dave Gatlin.
You guys probably saw today, we've got 2 new benches out back, the trash stand changed to them, that we built in the shop and continue cleaning up the park. Trash pickup has continued in Blue Springs, Haverton Road, and Fire Tower Road has been completed. We've installed new speed limit sign on Haverton, cleared gravel from the road on the Fire Tower, new guardrail, and installed a bridge on Blue Springs Road. We installed winches donated by Chuck Jacobus and removed the metal salt box from the truck. They worked perfectly. Replaced the hydraulic cylinders on the tractor and prepared it for brush off work. Prepared the facade of the city hall for painting, removed metal parts, and removed the aluminum roof off the top of the main entrance to City Hall. And our future projects include replacing the plastic concrete culvert behind the fire station and fixing the water leak in the same parking lot. Install concrete culverts as parking entrance off the fire tower and replace all street signs and stop signs in Goshen.
We actually just ordered all the street signs as well. So I will be bringing those in probably in the next couple of months and we'll start putting those up. We have several streets now that have missing street signs. I can pull it up. Yeah. You're talking about the street signs, the new street signs? This is what the new street signs will look like. So, and they're larger, so they're 9-inch by 36-inch. So when they get up on the post, it's going to be a lot more visible, and it's got the reflective signage as well. So it should be easy for everybody to see things as they come in, and easy to get to the streets. And we've gone through, and if you find a street that for some reason doesn't have a street sign, let us know. But I think we've got all the streets and enough signs for all of them. And we've ordered at least 2 backup street signs for every street as well. So if one gets damaged or taken, we can replace it.
Just a small thought, since we know that they're starting in Anderson's and heading that way, and it looks like they're going to be doing that very shortly. Do you want to wait on doing the signs on?
No, we will. Yeah, we'll wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, it won't take them long because they are going to start.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to start at the end of the week on that, and then they're going to be moving that way. So it won't take them long to get past Goshen.
I just didn't want our new street signs to get knocked out by all that equipment
They
they're
probably
bringing in.
won't. They
You
probably
never
won't
know.
even get here by then. Yeah. So I do. Yeah, I had them up there already,
Okay.
but I can put them back up there.
That's okay.
So these guys have been really busy, and you know, some of the things that I think that Dave didn't say is that, you know, to save the city money, they took the hydraulic cylinders off of that sidearm brush hog and took them in to get them serviced, and it was $570 or $530 instead of, if we'd have had somebody come to do it, it'd have been a couple $1,000s to go through all that. So, and then they went and put all those back on. So they've really been busy. The trash cans, those were old 55-gallon drums that they painted, sanded, and got tops and fabricated locks to go on them so that they could keep them locked. So they've been busy. So I'm really proud of all the work that's been going on. All right, next on the reports. Thank you, guys. Oh, and for anybody that has not met, Ivan, could you stand up? Ivan Ivanikov is our newest employee with Infrastructures and Facilities Management. So he's working with Dave now. And with 2 people, they can get a lot more done. All right.
Welcome,
thank
Ivan.
you. Fire District report next. Isn't it here from Goshen Fire District?
No.
Nope. Okay, I'll read the report. So they have been working with us on some of the building and planning as well. Lacey's been working closely with them. So building fires, there was one. Trash or rubbish fire contained one. Brush or brush and grass mixed fires were 3. Grass fires 3. Medical assist, still the highest, is 18. 1 motor vehicle accident with injuries. 1 with no injuries. Gas leak, we had 1. Call for service. Dispatch canceled en route, 8. Authorized controlled burning, 3. And then smoke detector activation with no fire, 1. Alarm activation with no fire, unintentional, 1. And citizen complaint, 1. So a total of 43 calls in the city and 13 different types of incidents. Okay. All right, we'll move on to our planning commission report.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Tom Henley, the Chairman of the Planning Commission. We had kind of a light schedule or a light agenda this week, only a few items, but there's a lot of discussion that went on within the minor subdivision that you see up there. That was denied. There was some discussion about whether or not the lots contained enough building area outside the floodplain to be approved. I think probably of more significance, the conditional use permit, maintaining and regulating conditional use permits. You know, when somebody brings a conditional use application to us, there's a lot of discussion about the conditions of that permit, and we don't really have we're doing a great job getting more staff, but being able to regulate and monitor those conditional use, and in particular, there's a landscape company down the road that had some violations of what we had permitted, and what they had guaranteed that they would do when they were granted that conditional use permit. We've given them 60 days to bring that back into compliance and then resubmit anything that may have been done outside of their original permit, so that we can assess whether or not it was in line with the original application. And we had a number of residents that came and spoke about that, and that's exactly what we need. We need concerned citizens bringing that forward to us, again, because we don't always have the staff to monitor it, and those are the people that get impacted directly by conditional use permits that we grant. So that's one of those instances that we're really need to have this joint meeting between council and planning commission, kind of go over those kind of things. Additionally, and probably more significantly, are the tandem lot and private road responsibilities. As a city, we have never or have not historically required people to they dedicate the right of way for the roads in their developments. But they are not required, or the city doesn't take ownership of the streets in those developments. And there's all kinds of complicating issues that are associated with that, whether it's a previously approved gated subdivision, how we deal with the streets in a development like that, how we deal with gates, and that sort of thing. The other thing is, we know that, and specifically this month, there's a tandem lot split And as you all know, tandem lots are not, they're lots that don't have frontage, the required frontage on a city right of way. So they're accessed through an access easement, and you know, we're obligated to make sure that the people that buy those lots or are sold those lots have the ability to get fire protection out to their house whenever they need it. And so that's a concern for us beyond the number of tandem lots that we're granting down any particular easement. I think that's really kind of secondary to just being able to provide them with basic services, whether it's water, fire protection, that sort of thing. And so that's another thing that we really need to kind of wrap our heads around as the city as a whole, and that's council and planning commission in how you want us to kind of administer that. And when you look at cities around the area, the majority of them require towns, not only do they dedicate the right of way, but they take ownership of the streets and they maintain the streets. And that's a huge financial obligation for a city, can be, depending on how well the streets are inspected when they're constructed. And if they're constructed properly, then it can be much less of an obligation for a city if it's done properly. But you know, again, that goes back to the staffing and do we have the number of people that are qualified enough to be able to inspect city streets as they're being constructed, and then take ownership of them, and that will alleviate a significant amount of angst that we have with people that want to carve off a piece of property for their kids to build a house. There's a lot of that goes on around here. I think there's also a lot of it that gets carved off and then somebody wants to sell that house. And so we need to be conscious of that as we approve those. So those are some of the things that were discussed at length and that we need to continue to discuss as a commission with council to try and address, to make sure that we're a rural community. Got a lot of there's a lot of parcels around this town that have been owned by families for generations. And we do need to be conscious of that. But we also need to allow those families to either develop or apply for building permits on their property in a responsible manner. And sometimes they just want to split a piece of property off and run cattle on it or cut hay on it. But that doesn't come into our purview. And we got to consider it as if they're going to build a house on it. So those are some of the things that we discussed. Lacey, did I miss anything? I don't think so. But as you guys have all gotten the emails, it'd be good for us all to get together and discuss how to address those long term for the benefit of the community. Thank you.
I think,
Thanks, Tom.
Tom, it has been determined, and I guess something was sent out, that the meeting is April 4th at 5:30.
Thanks, John. Yeah, that's good that everybody is aware of it, because I think the more public involvement we can have is beneficial.
Yeah.
So this is a working group session on April 4th. The public, they'll get a notice, and if you are invited to come to the working session, there'll be a working session between the planning commission and the council.
Hey, Tom, thanks for the report. One follow-up on Pod A. So how is that left? There was concern there was not enough buildable property.
Yeah, and I don't
It
know.
was also because of the,
It's been
it had been
split from a
split.
parent track in 2017,
No, 2021.
2021. So
Right.
so it had been too soon.
You have to wait 10 years to split again.
That's right.
And even when they meet that time restriction, they're going to have to do something to get enough area outside the floodplain so that it it complies.
Thank you.
Mhm. Any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank
All right, we'll move on to the building inspector's report. Let me pull it up. JD or Tracy? Who's here?
Yeah, I'm gonna do the
Okay.
report this evening. Katie had to take his wife out to dinner.
Okay, great.
Good man.
So pretty much he just told me to let you guys know that he had 59 inspections and they all passed.
Great. Any questions about that? He has been busy.
Yeah.
He said that, last month definitely made up for, January when he had for 10 days had nothing, so.
Thank you. All right, move on to the Parks and Recreation report. And is anybody doing that for Adam, or do you want me to read it?
I was gonna do that.
Perfect. Kyle? So,
Adam is at a softball game tonight. He's participating in spring tournament, so he may miss a couple meetings here and have some excuse. So,
and for those of you that don't know, this is Tom McGurk. He's one of our Parks Commissioners.
so I'm just gonna read this and elaborate just a little bit. I think Adam was in a rush on Friday to send it out. But Craft and Tall is finalizing the EDA trail plans with the goal of getting them to 100% completion to bid out in the June, early July timeframe. There's a couple of milestones between now and there that we're working to get over, but that is currently the goal. And we're coordinating with them as well for revised cost estimates on the engineered portion of the bird blind that Mary presented last week. And again, those are some interactive pieces along that trail to make sure it's not just a trail to nowhere and provide some a destination. Additionally, there'll be some concrete slabs and picnic tables built out of stone, placed as resting areas along that trail near the creek to provide opportunities for picnicking and utilizing the space a little bit better. So with that, the City Hall is also coordinating with RDOT regarding one last kind of check mark, which is the Cultural Resource Survey. We're doing that for HUD as well, or something very similar. So we're hoping that we can avoid duplication of efforts and not have to pay a consultant for that. So we're working through that process right now as well. The goal ultimately, if we can, is to bid both of those projects consecutively. They're different projects and they can't be bid as one. But by bidding two relatively large projects at the same time, the goal is that a contractor will give us more competitive pricing for completion issue. But we'll see where that goes.
So Kyle, before you go on, so my recollection is we have some grant money to pay for that. We have some set aside money from the budget to pay for it. Obviously, costs are going up in everything we do. So will it be add-ons or deducts based on that cost, that final cost?
So we're working towards that total budget that was already set, and we're kind of using some of these other items as like deductive alternatives, so that when it gets bid out, if we have to pull a picnic table out, we can. Worst case scenario, there is opportunity to apply for a grant in future fiscal years to help cover overruns if they happen. But we want to avoid that.
Sure. Thank you.
So, Kyle,
Yep.
what came of the bridge? I know that we thought we were gonna get one donated, didn't. So is Craft and Toll designing one? Is that?
Yeah, so what will be spec'd is a prefabricated steel truss span bridge. It'll be a concrete deck with steel railings on both sides. It'll be spec'd as such, and the contractor that bids on it will have to submit a proposal with footing engineering as part of that bid package, which is pretty standard in this area. The span is, I think, 42 feet, 40 to 50 feet.
Yeah.
And so it's something that gets delivered on a semi and a crane, relatively small crane, will lift it into place on top of the
How
back.
wide?
It is
I think it was 6 or 8.
6 or 8 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's wide enough to meet ADA requirements, but not full greenway width.
Kyle, I saw recently there's a company that does exactly that. And what they do is they use um, flatbed railroad cars, etc. And they put in a lot of them all over the place. Have we looked into that, or is that something that, from a cost standpoint, that might be beneficial?
I'm aware of what you're talking about. They are a locally based company, and they use a lot of retired JB Hunt Walmart trucks. I think a lot of Parks and Rec structures have moved away from that recently just because of the aesthetics of them. And there's still a lot of manual fabrication to get the railings up to code and everything. And so it could maybe save a little bit of money, but a lot of it moved away from
But
that.
I mean, I guess they're something like 45 feet long and 10 feet wide or something like that.
Yep.
You know,
And
so,
they're still used a lot for private roads and rural gravel roads as well. But
okay. Thank you.
great, thank you for the questions. The final thing is the Highlands Gravel Classic is coming up here at the end of April. We're going to be working with City and some generous donations to host a spaghetti dinner or more of an afternoon late lunch for participants as they finish. That'll be prepped in the evening on Friday and served on Saturday. If anyone's interested in volunteering in any way, reach out to Lacey City Hall or keep me a list, and we'll be coordinating that as the time nears. And this past weekend, they hosted a formal pre-ride. 50 participants showed up. Five bikes were donated. The furthest participant that showed up was from Memphis to ride here, so it's pretty exciting. They had a lot of really good things to say about Goshen. So
That's the 27th of April, correct?
That's correct.
Yes, it is.
They're doing a pickup on the 26th, and then the 27th is the actual race. Get it? Do you have other questions or comments?
the question was how many people have signed up. I don't have that in front of me.
So I
About
Yeah, I
300.
talked to Tree, and it was a little over 300, 360, I think is what she told me last time I spoke to her.
Expecting 500. Yeah, they're working on these.
You guys have a map of it? It's on their website, so, for the Highlands Gravel Classic, and I think we have flyers that we just got.
Yeah, well, we do have flyers, flyer on Facebook, it's on the website as well, and then Tree got a hold of me earlier this week, they got a new app. That they're gonna actually be laying out the community building, like where they're doing, like the start, things like that, and so that will be available, to the hopefully by the next week.
End of next week, okay.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to come and cheer people on or be a part of it.
And I think what they have on the website is the graph that they had last year is up to look at.
No, it's been updated.
It has, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's on the Goshen City Hall website.
You can get to their link from our site. Yep. So the other things that were discussed that weren't voted on at the last Parks Commission meeting, we talked about applications for another RDOT grant as well as another state park grant, because those are all coming due soon. So that's why those are on our agenda tonight. So we have to have resolutions for those in order for us to even proceed to start the application process. We also talked a little bit about the expansion back here behind us of the community center park. And we'll show some pictures and talk more about that when we get to that on the new item on the agenda. So, anything else?
No, Adam left those out on purpose, so we can save them for the agenda. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle.
And they have been very busy. Thank you very much to all the parks commissioners for their hard work. The Arbor Board report, I think Betty's doing it tonight. Somebody can come up.
Mary's out of town. So, y'all have in your packet a very short report. The board met, Tuesday, February 27th, before the parks meeting. And we discussed several things, and one thing that has been said is the Free Tree Friday for 11 to 1 p.m. in front of City Hall. Forestry Department is donating 200 maybe plus trees or seedlings, for us to give away. We will use that as our Arbor Day, and we have the volunteers for that. Mary has ordered the native trees and shrubs to be planted by the duck pine and some additional plaques to be put on the trees. And the Arbor Board now, we have 2 new members, Cheryl Nemo and Andrew Egan. So, any comments? So, thank you.
Thank you. All right. So we'll move on to old business. I think first thing on the agenda for old business is the adoption of the ICC codes.
Yeah, my name's on that. There's been lots of discussion about adopting these codes. We've gone through the steps to have them made available to the public. So it's right for adoption if you all are wanting to do that. I know Max has maybe some comments to
Yes,
bring up.
I do. Whenever you want to talk about it now.
Yeah.
My concern is with mainly with Appendix D on the fire code. I understand. I've been reading it for several days. I've talked to Lacey some about it. I've talked to the fire chief about it. I talked to JD a little bit about it. And what we're running into is the Appendix D specifies the width of the access road as being 20 feet up to a length of 750 feet, and then it has to be 26 feet. And it's being interpreted as that's the driving surface, not just the access easement, but the actual surface of the road. And, you know, we have a lot of places like Tom was talking about earlier that have access via road. We've in the past defined that as tandem lot. And now, if you have a road that's over 750 feet long and someone wants to get a building permit, we can't do it until you build a 26-foot wide road. And that's, in my opinion, going to basically kill any further development of residential houses in Goshen. There's a lot of stuff in the fire code itself. I can quote the numbers, but to just burn up time, but there are exceptions for if the dwellings are sprinkled. The fire chief, who is the fire code official, can make exceptions. I think that it would be good if we, well, let me back up. I showed Brian a little bit, but it says in the fire code that Appendix D is not mandatory unless it's specifically referenced in the adopting ordinance. So I don't know whether we can adopt the code tonight and do something about this Appendix D in the future. But I would like to include it in the Planning Commission and City Council work session to talk about this. I don't believe that. I mean, I know it's the rule, and we're after public safety, but Goshen doesn't have a lot of connectivity like we've talked about before. And if you limit the number of houses, maybe we need to get rid of tandem lot. Maybe we need to rework that. I mean, is the Knolls or all those houses like technically tandem lots because they're not on a public road? None of them have frontage.
No, those are major subdivisions.
I understand that, but a major subdivision, you know, our definition of tandem lots. I don't know. I'm just saying we need to look at it because this is going to be a problem. It's already been a problem, right?
Absolutely. I just wanted to really quick let you guys know that I'm in the middle right now talking with Brad with the Goshen Fire Department, and actually this code has been since like the 1990s. He said that Goshen can ultimately choose. Hold on, where did it go? Ultimately, Goshen has the authority to do what they would like, but if they start bulking on parts of the fire code, they won't be able to enforce most of it or any of it. They will set precedent that would really take away their teeth, is what he quoted. So this has been adopted already. I don't know that it's been enforced already, but
obviously not.
It was put into the code in the 1990s. Goshen has already adopted this code, and if we don't either make adjustments to the tandem lot situation that you're speaking of, and don't adopt these codes based on what you're asking, there's other things that we won't adopt either and can't enforce. And I just want you guys to remember.
Well, I would venture to say that a lot of city streets don't meet the fire code. Oh, and so if you're going to start talking about dozing and widening some of these streets, there's gonna be a lot of opposition to that. I'd say some people on Spring Park wouldn't like that. I don't know that we could afford it. So I don't know what the answer is, but it's a problem, and I think we need to address it as best we can. I talked to Anthony some about maybe we could make in the fire code there's a way that where there's a fire hydrant on a road, you can make 26-foot wide place there, and that applies to I think it's over 750 feet. So maybe we could just say we're going to have a 26-foot wide place where 2 fire trucks can pass every 600 feet or something like that, rather than having to build the entire road 26 feet wide. So I'm not expecting an answer on any of that tonight. I'd like for us to talk about it at the work session. But I guess my question is, can we adopt the codes and not reference?
My advice is, especially given the discussion at last week's meeting and the concerns raised tonight, that you all don't take action on this tonight and have that. I know Lacey and I were discussing earlier agenda items for the working session, but it might make sense to add that to that and get a consensus of what everyone wants to do. I know Lacey doesn't like hearing what I'm advising, but I think that's probably the best approach given the circumstances.
We don't want
And then,
to do it and then undo it.
and
I
we
think
just
Tom
table
has-
this, and just table this tonight.
Thank you, Max. Yeah, just real quick. So in my experience, outside of my life as chairman of the planning commission here in Goshen, these fire requirements are very much subject to interpretation. The same fire code applies for Fayetteville as it does for Rogers and Bentonville, and you'll get a different take on it at every city. The 26-foot requirement is primarily for the outriggers on aerial apparatus. And we have an aerial apparatus truck as part of the volunteer fire department, but normally those are not used unless the building's over 30 feet in height. And that's where we've been normally, from a professional standpoint, restricted, in that if you go over a structure that's 30 feet in height, then you need to provide the 26 foot, and it's 26 foot clear. It's not a 26 foot driving surface. They just need to be able to get their outriggers out and know that they're not going to sink into the mud. So, you know, and I mean, we still need to consider. I live on Wyman. There's a 4-inch line on Wyman. The closest fire hydrant is down on 45. It really doesn't apply to us at all, you know, and anything that goes out Wyman. And so those are just some of the things that we need to consider and maybe, you know, try and accommodate from a code standpoint and bring the fire marshal in on that discussion for sure.
Hey, Tom, while you're up there, let me use your brain.
Yeah.
I was told today NFPA is about to be updated as well. How does that impact ICC or the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code?
That's probably outside my expertise, but I've heard the same thing. Yeah, that's going to be updated.
Mm-hmm. I would say on our perspective, the only reason that we would like to get this approved quickly is because this also applies to all the other building codes in the city. So the problem is we are limited on what we can enforce until we have something that's in place for us to be able to utilize to enforce anything. So we are holding off on being able to enforce any building code at this time because we don't have an ordinance to back us up.
Not if you're updated.
Yeah, well, the must update. We have the old versions of things that we can go by because that's what's been approved, but we don't have the updated codes.
Well, I mean, I know there's been a lot of work on this, but I agree with Max. I think it needs to be part of the working session. I think we need to get Anthony here, the fire marshal, and some people with more expertise than probably hits around this table.
Yeah, if we could get the fire marshal to come to the meeting, the joint meeting, that would.
I can absolutely have them come to that working session. I will tell you, I've been working closely with Anthony Harder Fire Chief and his marshal, Brad. They are they're set on that 26-foot hard surface. Set on it.
Well, that's why we have to get them to the work session and discuss it.
But I think to Max's point, we don't want to hamstrung ourselves and not be able to make the city grow smartly, because we've got a code that says, or what they believe says 26 feet of hard surface.
And Max has a great point. We have many city streets that do not comply with that code. Many. And there is no way, there's no way we are going to be able to fiscally go back and change all of those streets.
Once the road has been approved at its original width, there's nothing you can do about going back. If it is what it is right now, it's already adopted, it's already grandfathered, for lack of a better word. It's moving forward. And that, like I said, Brian, I've talked to you about this, Anthony, and I'm sure you spoke with him, he was at the planning commission meeting. He's dead set on 26 feet per person.
I recognize that he is, but for the council to be able to make an educated decision, I think he needs to be a part of a discussion with them. I understand the reasons, as the mayor stated, of adopting this tonight. I'm not a proponent of us adopting an ordinance just to come right back and make amendments after the fact. And so that's why I'm suggesting that you all would table this, add this to your agenda for the working session, invite the fire chief or whomever from the fire department to come and be a part of that discussion, so that you all can determine what you want to do.
And then we could,
Is it
in the
possible
April
to
meeting.
adopt the plumbing code, the electrical code, the building code, and
Sitting
not
right
the
here, I
fire
don't see why we can't piecemeal it. Obviously, the ordinance before you doesn't do that,
Right.
but let's discuss that and figure out if that's what the council wants to do.
And I think since we have the working session April 4th, you at least can
It's gonna
work
be
on
before our
it
meeting.
before the next meeting. If we want to take something out and piecemeal it and bring it back, then Brian can do that at that time.
Yeah, for the April meeting.
Yeah.
I mean,
It does create less work than us to pass this and then we redo the entire thing in a month. So I agree with that. So.
all right, I'll make a motion to table this until the next council meeting.
Okay, there's a motion
second.
and a second. Any other public input before we vote? I saw someone. Yeah.
So what happens if Anthony does not sign off on the plan because he is fire?
The city's in charge of approving building permits, and if the city determines a variance is allowed, then that would be allowed.
Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. So we'll move on to ordinance 119 follow-up, and that's you, Birch. Let me pull it up.
Yeah, so really just a conversation. I know we've had lots of discussions about gated subdivisions. If I recall, this ordinance is almost 10 years old. I think the only person that worked on this ordinance is Paula. I think former Mayor Hoy was there. And I know there's been lots of discussion. I know there's discussions about we need arterial connections, we need connectivity, we need safety. But I think what has been brought to the council is maybe there should be a waiver process. Maybe there should be a look at this ordinance to make sure that this is truly what we want. My opinion is I think it should be up to the neighborhood. And they can bring it to the council or bring it to the planning and say, this is why, and then it can go from there. But it feels like to me it's an outdated ordinance. And I think there should be a little more respect given to the neighborhoods that are built if they want to have a gate or not have a gate. And I'm not saying I'm for a gate or against a gate, but the safety issues of having a Knox box and having the siren that can activate the gate if you want that, giving proximity cards to the first responders. I just think my opinion is we're being a little short sighted on an older ordinance where we've had several folks bring it up that they'd like to have that looked at again.
I'll say too, Birch, that that's addressed in this fire code. D 103.5 talks about access to gates and, the requirements if you're going to have a gate.
Right.
So hopefully that can all be included.
Yeah, because if they're gonna have a gate, as long as they meet the requirements of the fire code, as far as or police, to get into the neighborhood, then who cares?
I do think that whenever we need to consider future subdivisions, that if the developer is not or is if there is an opportunity for better connectivity in this town that has no connectivity, I think we need to make sure that that is not taken away as an opportunity. And that, and I guess the other component of that is that whenever they're developing subdivisions, they're going to take the least cost option, and it's typically the least cost option to not have connectivity. So, we need to make sure that we do have connectivity. I do believe that, yes, we need connectivity, that if that is an option in future subdivisions, but I do think though that, if there is no connectivity, backing up to the river, that kind of thing, then if they want to get a community, I think that should be up to the community as well.
I don't disagree at all, Paul, but I think that would be part of the process. And I mean, there's right of ways that are reserved for connectivity.
Yeah.
So that could be part of.
I'm just going to jump in. There was some lengthy discussion at not this previous council meeting, but the month before. With the planning commission, it's a council planning commission, understanding that you all there was a desire to make changes to this.
Yeah.
Their consensus was understanding that, but hoping that there's some way to put a variance process in place. Where it's very specific on certain criteria that has to be met. And so that's what gave rise to the idea of the joint working session.
Right.
For you all to discuss that and then make whatever changes are appropriate to this after that.
And that's what we'll be doing at the April 4th meeting.
And that's the next item on the agenda, which is.
So I'd like any public comment about that if we can.
So, yeah. And that is part of that ordinance 119 as well as this. My understanding is that is largely what's going to be discussed at this working session. But if we have public comment about it now, if you guys would come to the podium and talk, that we would welcome that. Anybody that wants to make
that would be the best, because we'll be there as two committees to meet.
Yep.
I'll exercise this opportunity as just a member of the public and not on planning commission, and I know this will come up during our working session, but I think there's room to find common ground. We understand there are a lot of people that like living in gated subdivisions. Totally understand that. And we need to have the opportunity for connectivity, primarily for emergency access. And so if we're able to allow a developer to create a gated subdivision that has gates that will ultimately be connected to, but remain closed, but the fire department has the option to open them with a Knox box when there's a wreck on 45 or there's a house fire or something that they can gain access, then I think it serves both purposes. The people that live in the development feel secure, and we still can move traffic responsibly, around the city. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Any other discussion on that? No? Okay. So I think that takes us all the way through items B and C on the old business. Now we'll move on to item D on the agenda, which is renovations update. So really the renovations update is mainly going to be right now the City Hall, because that's where we've done most of the painting. We're working on awnings. We got the awning bid back, and we're going to have the awnings put on. We've got window bids back, and the windows are going to get replaced. There's some additional cabinetry that's going to be built for the interior of the building. I'm trying to think of the next things that we have planned. We did get bids back on improving the parking lot for both City Hall and the fire department. We're waiting on a third bid because we've got 3 different bids for each of those projects, because there are really 3 different steps on either one of those. So one of the other things that we noticed was behind the fire station, the old plastic culvert that was put in. When we got the bid from Tomlinson Asphalt, they pointed out that the reason that asphalt has cracked continually is because of the plastic culvert driving 40,000 pounds of weight over it. So our plans are that we can purchase the tiles, these concrete tiles, and replace it ourselves. Because if we hire that done, it's going to be $15,000 to $20,000. We can get the seconds up at Spurlock and and haul them back and replace it ourselves, and probably cost about 5,000 to 7,000 instead. So we're in the process of that. On the community building, I've got one bid back on the renovation to the exterior. The plan is we will wait until after the Highlands Gravel Classic before any construction here would start. They are planning to go ahead and start painting on the exterior of the building within the next few weeks. But as far as the actual construction to the bathrooms, that will not occur until after April 27th. Questions about it?
Has City of Fayetteville given the final location of the water line they're gonna bury?
Yeah, so the water line will actually go straight in front of the community building and then straight up fire tower. I talked to Corey Granderson at Fayetteville Water. They put that out for bid, but it has not come back to me yet as far as when they're gonna start.
So they're not gonna jog it over onto the city property back here like they were?
No, they are. They're jogging it over on the city property.
Yeah, so it'll be about like under those power lines.
Yep, it goes right under the power lines and straight up fire tower.
Construction of the bathrooms and the playground won't be
That
on
won't have anything. No, it'll be farther out to the road. Everything else will be back. Basically, the furthest we will be towards the road is just on the other side of the sidewalk here. Yeah, so everything else will be this way as far as construction here. Other questions about that so far?
So that's between the gas deal out there and the telephone pole, basically.
The water line?
Yeah.
Yeah, the water line will go basically where the gas line comes through, and then just on the other side and then straight up the fire tower. That's one of the reasons we've not pushed a trail along that pathway yet. And I was waiting to get back that word back from Fayetteville Water on when they're going to start. They put it out for bid, but they're waiting on the contractor that they select for the bid. Once they've got that contractor identified, then the contractor will submit when they're going to start which part of the project. I won't know that until I hear back from Corey at City of Fayetteville. So, but we do know that that's what we're waiting on for that portion of it there.
Okay.
All right, so we'll move on to any other questions from the council or citizens about the projects. Okay. So we'll move on to new city business. B, annexation recommendations. Let me pull it up. So we have a subcommittee that has been working on annexations. And we're looking at area where an annexation would be the most beneficial for the city, and an area that we currently patrol. Our police department has to go there to patrol a portion of this area that is already within the city. So if you look at our map, this green area is the growth area, and that is basically this right here. If you can see that, this is Bowen Boulevard or Highway 45 as it goes up Slaughter Mountain. So this is Haberton here, okay? So as we get up here, the police now have to go up and take the river, is it Rivercrest Road? That goes back to the homes that are in the city back here. So they already drive back here to patrol. I think there's 8 houses or 9 back in there. So if we can annex this area, my thought is these are all good roads, there's no bridges and high-end homes. So I'm looking at, we provide better police service for their area because their taxes will go up a little bit. And then we would also try to annex all the way out to Guy Terry and over to the Saddleblock Brewery. That would capture some revenue for sales tax from that vineyard and Saddleblock if it reopens. The roads there, we would cut that right in front of the bridge on Haberton, so we wouldn't take the bridge, we would take all the roads.
The bridge is
But the bridge is theirs. So Washington County still maintains that. So just like we've done in just about all of our city areas, we haven't taken many of the bridges. But that way we anticipate by the real estate taxes in this area in combination with potential increase with sales tax from vendors online, we're looking at anywhere between 100 and 300,000 in the first year. That's a low estimate because just with the real estate taxes, Gina Swanson, who's calculated all the figures on all the homes within this area, it would generate right at $90,000 worth of revenue just on the real estate taxes.
Because you've got that new development.
Yep, and that doesn't count any new homes that are built.
At the bottom of the hill to the right.
Yep. So that's the area, and the process.
That number was updated just for the Fayetteville residents, so that it would be and then Springdale was, upwards of like 20, so it was like 100,
Yeah.
113.
That's just for the real estate. That doesn't include any of the sales tax income or any of the revenue from the businesses that are there.
What's
So,
What's on the western edge? Is that Sassafras?
yeah, so Sassafras is actually over here a little bit.
Let's
Oh,
have it.
sorry. Haberton is this road here.
Right there.
Yeah, where's that? Okay,
And then Guy Terry is this road. And then Sassafras is actually up here and over.
okay.
So there's a portion of Sassafras we don't get. We talked about that. We can't take Sassafras because Fayetteville's planning comes to our planning now. And so, but once we move our city limit, then we could take Sassafras in a year or two if we wanted to try to apply for that. The way that we can do this, there's two different ways that are the easiest for us to annex them. We put it on the ballot as a ballot initiative for November, and we vote on it. The city, everybody in the city votes on it. So if everybody in this annexation area votes no on it, but we all vote yes, they get annexed anyway. Or we can go to all the citizens that live in that area and say, hey, would you like to be annexed into the city of Goshen? We provide better, services for police, support here, close to where you're at. We'll make sure your streets are maintained, promise them things that we think we can do. And if they want to annex in, then they can vote themselves into the annexed into the city. But
What does that take?
I think it's Lacey, what is the percentage that have to want to annex in without a vote?
Without a vote?
Yeah, without
That
taking
I'm not sure. I know that.
Without a vote, I think it's 100.
all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the
I wanna
easiest
say
is to
that
put
there
it,
is a majority. When I talked with Stephanie, I also read how we talked on H two, that there was a majority of like signatures.
they have to be on it.
That have to want to annex it. Otherwise, it's a vote, it goes on the ballot. The election committee will make up a precinct for the highlighted green area, and the highlighted green area and all of Goshen will be able to vote on that.
Correct. And I would say that if we annex this area, we will need another police officer. But the nice thing is we would have the revenue to hire another police officer and another patrol vehicle to be able to utilize on this new annexation area. And we would likely have to create another ward as well.
So,
Yeah, you're already going down Haverton with the police as well,
Correct.
and you're only doing the right side of the road versus what's right across the street.
That is correct. Yeah, because right now, our police services, they're not really responsible for this area, but they're responsible for this area, even though it's all on Haverton. So
Right.
we have some public,
And we maintain that road. We paved it
part of it, yeah.
that is correct.
3 years
So
ago.
this area that's, would be the southeast, I guess, the lower left-hand
This
square.
area?
Yeah. Does
Yes,
that include that old subdivision up
it
top?
does not include, it includes Rivercrest in that subdivision. It does not include Fox Run.
That's the old one that was never really developed. Oh, Fox Front.
Yeah,
Up by
Fox
the
Run is the one
church.
that goes way down in the holler.
Yeah. Well,
It
you
does not
know,
include that.
you know the one I'm talking about, Jason, up on top of the hill, that the roads were paved, but it's about like 8 feet wide.
Yeah, that will never be. I mean, that actually belongs to the property where that huge house.
Okay, so we're not talking about annexing that, or we are. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not gonna be city streets.
Well, no,
Because
unless
they were
they're county,
The judge that built that big house actually owns that property as well. He kind of did like what my property is, just bought the whole house.
you're talking about Judge Story. Yeah,
Um,
so,
That would be quite a,
yeah, so any of our city streets would be what the county roads that they maintain now, which are the streets that are paved. They don't maintain the ones that are not. Those are all considered private
well,
drives.
these streets were paved.
Yeah, but
Just
even
about
if they're
6 acres.
paved, but they've not been turned over to the county, they're still private drives.
Yeah, there's no bill.
And we could put that together as well as, which roads we would be annexing in and which ones we would be responsible for maintaining.
Jason, do you know how often Fayetteville has to go out there, or how often fire?
It's county.
That's county. Okay.
Yeah. It's between us and Fayetteville. We both have growth areas, but it's all responded to by county.
I got you.
And Judge Deakins, I've talked to him a little bit about those roads, and he's frustrated because it's hard to maintain all that, just because it's been the people that live there, they want their roads maintained better than what he's able to maintain. So,
I'll be interested in public comment.
we do have some people waiting for public comment. If you have public comment, come up and we'll use the podium to talk.
Carolyn Jordan, and two things, or just real quick, people in that area, they're either gonna end up in Goshen, or they're gonna end up in Fayetteville or Springdale.
That is correct.
And so that's something for them to think about, where do you want to end up? And I figure most of those people will probably say Goshen. But the other thing, I was on that committee, or that subcommittee to look at this, and we backed off from that annexation, and Colton or Brian might could clarify, because there was some sort of land, agriculture.
So there's
that no
two things that
longer-
were a concern. There's 2 chicken house farms that were there. Those chicken houses have not been operational in years, like 10 years. So that was, if Northwest Arkansas Regional Planning looks at it, that's what they saw as well. So if you don't know that those chicken houses are not operational, you would think that this is not an ideal, place to annex, because you think you've got to deal with the chicken houses. But that is not the case, because they've been non-operational for 10 years.
I think it was more than just the chicken house.
Yeah, you're thinking east side. What we really want.
No, I thought it was over here though, too.
I
It
think-
was like pasture land, it was not developed. No, it was on this side.
We do have, if you look at these large tracts along, these are all big farms that are here currently. But that's not really any different than the large farms that are here as far as tracts of land. So according to Northwest Arkansas Regional Planning, this would not be a difficult annexation. It would just be a determination of whether or not it's voted to annex in or not.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I just didn't want us to run into a bind that we did.
There, and I remember us discussing, I don't remember the details of it, Carolyn, but I do remember, and it was this,
It was that
portion.
section, right? This year at Colton and I was on three there at that meeting.
If you guys remember,
I think it was agriculture, I believe, that Brian
wasn't
paused on.
held for municipal lots. I don't recall the details of it.
But something that committee did discuss was using the river as boundaries. I'm seeing,
the river is a boundary here.
yeah, the area on the south, what's the reason for not including?
This,
No,
down here.
yeah, what's the reason
So,
for not including
so the
that?
big reason we don't want to include this, if you go down to the very end of this is the end of Fox Run down here. I don't want to inherit having to go down Fox Run to be able to access these properties here for the police to have to patrol. So we're cutting that off.
They're part of Fox Run.
That's part of Fox Run down there. So we basically cut out everything that we would have to go down Fox Run in order to patrol for our police
But
vehicles.
down in the cul-de-sac.
Down in the cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
So the cul-de-sac comes down here. None of the properties that we want to annex touch that cul-de-sac. That was the reason. That was the rationale.
Yeah.
For why we ended it there instead
And they
of
don't
going
belong to Fox Run, but
This,
these people do.
These do not, but those do.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And that's why we didn't annex those.
And
We're
Northwest
gonna
Arkansas
choose to.
Planning has been part of this discussion?
Yeah,
Okay,
Through the
good.
whole thing. Like Lacey's worked closely with
Perfect.
them.
The reason I was asking, Greenland just had an annexation on their ballot, and I know Jeff was heavily involved in that.
That's actually where I
Yeah.
got, the process.
Good.
I reached out to Stephanie, actually kind of like on a whim, I was gonna look up on maps, and she was like, oh, yeah, annexation person, so I got with her, and she was gonna speak with Jeff, and they had me actually reach out to Greenland as well, to get that process of how we would go about it. Like I said, I don't remember what she said about, like, if they wanted to voluntarily annex them, but there was a majority, and she explained to me if you have 5 properties and 4 out of the 5 want it, and that's, they kind of like all go in. And that fifth person that doesn't want to join, it would be annexed anyway, unless they could go through the de-annexation process, and that's where it is.
So, Carol, I think you make a great point. They're going to be Fayetteville, they're going to be Springdale, they're going to be Goshen at some point.
Yeah.
So just being the devil's advocate, it makes sense to me, just looking at it on the surface. The negatives would be their taxes would go up some.
And I have a list of all those. So if you pay $7,000 in taxes, your taxes are gonna go up by about $200.
So what would be the other negatives?
For them, their taxes go up.
Yeah, besides that,
I mean, that's it. I think that's the only negative for them is that the tax, and they would have to comply with our ordinances.
Sure.
I mean, some people don't.
They can't go shoot fireworks off just anytime. they
like you
want.
do in the Knolls.
Well, we don't.
Oh,
But the reason I was asking, my parents are on sassafras, and I was just curious, but I can tell you, just knowing that they wouldn't want to be, they don't want to be a part of Fayetteville, Goshen, or Springfield. But, and I'll use fireworks just as an example, but
that's fair.
there would be
there
some
are
pushback.
We have some public comment.
Brenda went. The other negative might be that we might be telling these people things that we could do for them that we can't do for them or won't do for them. You know, we waited a long, long time to get our road paved. Just got it done last year. We waited years. And I'm sure there's still roads in this town, the existing city limits, they still need their roads done. So, you know, we just need to make sure that we're telling these people things that we are ready and willing to do for them. If we're going to tell them, come on in, join us, and we'll do these things for you. That could be the downside for those people.
I do agree. It's a big responsibility for us as well. And
You
I
know,
think that
getting bigger, you know, it's not all just about getting bigger.
absolutely agree. That's why we're here to discuss it. Any other public comment about the annexation? You guys have anything else to just talk about? This is just our first look at it.
Right.
You guys can, think about it, bring it back next meeting, talk about it, do some
I
research.
think those boundaries, I like those boundaries.
We were trying to be thoughtful about trying not to take on too much, but taking on an area that is something that we could probably manage. I
So-
don't think we can manage taking on huge areas where we have to do big infrastructure improvement plans right away.
So the cat's out of the bag. It'll be in a mess. And it'll get phone calls, I'm sure.
Yep.
So at what point are we proactive and say, let's talk about it and invite these folks to?
Well, that's why we're here to discuss it tonight. So we wanted to get your input of whether or not you think it's even something that is an entertainable thing to consider for going forward. And then once we have you guys' approval to kind of start reaching out to the citizens in that area, we can start making phone calls and talking to those people. We have all of their addresses, names. We can get in touch with those people and let them know that we are interested in the annexation and get some feedback from them. We may get 90% of them saying we don't want to be annexed. Yep. And that may be our determination that we're not going to push to annex them. Or we can say, well, we want to annex you anyway and put it on the ballot. We can get that information and bring it back. We do have to put it on the ballot by
July.
Lacey, August?
I think we have to have it.
July.
So if we do this, you cover it at the April 14th, you agree to do this, at the April meeting, you have to do a one reading, and then May, you would have to do your second reading, and then June, you have to do your third reading. And I would recommend getting in about the middle of June, so that Stephanie can get together the exact.
Because this all has to be
As far as I'm
public notice in the newspaper, and we have to have
Right.
them to be able to come to the meetings and talk about it.
Do you want to just take a vote on who?
We can do that. We have some more public comment. Oh, and then
Hey, Linda.
Hi, Linda Moore. I just had a quick question. I think we would get to this anyways at the next census, but would that put us immediately into a city of the first class?
it would.
And what does that entail as far as financially?
Doesn't really
I don't
entail
think it
anything
changes
financially.
that.
It just changes some of the rules of how we govern the city. Oh, Lacey, did you want
I
to?
was just gonna say in that aspect, as far as us being a second class or first class city, we might be more apt to get in our zip code, and that doesn't help with sales tax revenue.
And I know, we talk about our zip code and our sales tax revenue, but the big thing about our zip code is for fire and safety. And if you put in 124 Church Street, Elkins, you're going to end up in Elkins.
Mm-hmm.
Although every other building on Church Street is an Elkins address, City Hall is a Goshen address. And so there's other places like that in Goshen where it's an Elkins or a Fayetteville address, but it may have a similar or same address somewhere else, and people end up going to the wrong place. And imagine if you got dispatched 911 and your ambulance is going to Elkins instead of Goshen City Hall. And that could easily happen because, if it just gets dispatched wrong. So when we talk about that zip code, it will improve our sales tax tracing to be able to find out where our sales tax is going, but it's also for public safety. Any other questions before we, or comments from the public?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and like I said, if we annex this area, we would have to add an officer.
Well, look at the sheer size of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know in Springdale or Fayetteville, it's looking to do the same thing with those ones?
Yeah. This is one of those areas where they're gonna get swallowed by Fayetteville or Springdale because they're wanting to grow as well. And so for them, this is another logical place to grow because it's high-end homes with good roads. So.
So if we do a vote, does that mean that they're being forced to annex them?
If everybody in the city of Goshen overwhelmingly votes for this, and the people that live there don't, they would be annexed.
Okay, but can't Fayetteville or Springdale do the same thing?
If they get it on the ballot before we do. But the thing is, Fayetteville can't annex this area yet because it's in our planning area. It's not in their planning area. Their planning area, their extended planning area goes up against our current planning area. Springdale, this portion up here at the top, which is this little area right here, could potentially try to put that on their ballot for this next meeting, but they're not. And I know that because I know their mayor, and so that's not something they're planning right now. But it is something that they have in their future plans for annexation.
I mean, they'd be better off with the developments like Fox Hunter Road, okay? That's at the bottom of the hill right after Star. That's county.
Correct.
Well, didn't they change
And those houses are all,
rule about,
you've got
planning area only goes for a mile?
all kinds of big houses.
So Max had a question about planning area only going for a mile. It still goes for a mile, but with cities of the first class, you can have an extended, Lacey?
Population and only.
Oh, so it's based on population.
And Fayetteville, I want to say Springdale are the only ones who are big enough to have that 2-mile radius.
And that's why Fayetteville's area extends past that 1 mile and it goes all the way over to where our planning area is.
So cities of the first class have a different.
It's not
planning
first
area.
class, it's based on population. I was wrong. It was, her and I talked about it before, but it was population, not first class. So because of their population at this point, they can go at 2 miles. So the city of Fayetteville limits are, as you come down just past Star Road, that's kind of their city limit right there at the bottom of the hill before you get to Vanderbilt School. But they've got 2 miles in from there as far as their planning area because of their population. And
So
Springdale's similar to
Is that, because it used to be halfway to the next planning area.
No, theirs goes all the way 2 hours on the map. We could.
Yeah, so there's a 3-mile radius between Fayetteville City Limits and ours. Ours go out a mile. Fayetteville leaves ours. If we annex this area, what it'll do is if Fayetteville doesn't want us to realign our planning area a mile out, then Northwest Arkansas Regional Planning steps in and it goes to the midpoint.
Yep.
So
Between where theirs are.
Different planning area.
But yeah, if this was annexed, then our planning area would then go out a mile from the new annexation. So.
So you want to take a vote?
Yeah, we can take a
of the
vote on
council
whether we have
as to
support.
whether we're gonna try and move forward.
Okay.
But maybe the question is, do we explore this? Not,
Yes. Yeah, I don't
Well,
know.
that's what I'm saying.
We want to vote to explore it. I don't know that we have to have a vote. We just need to I wanted to bring it so I know whether or not to even go forward.
I think it's worth exploring.
Okay.
Me, I'm one.
Me
So
too.
I would like to know what the people in that area think, and that would get it started. Right.
Yep.
That's exploring. That's what you know, again,
Let's
I'm
explore.
interested in seeing. Yeah, let's find
Okay.
out how people feel.
Well, we'll start moving forward to look into it and talking to people in the area.
Okay.
And then we will start bringing this back though, and we will have to make a decision probably by the planning meeting,
By May.
a working session. No, but a working session, we're gonna have to decide whether or not we want to get this out as a notice, because we have to have 3 notices before it goes on the ballot. So we'd have to have April, May, and June meetings. Right?
Okay.
Okay.
But we can't, in a working session,
No, you can talk about it.
We can talk
we
about
can
it.
talk about it, but we can't vote on
Yeah, you won't be doing that, but
No.
Northwest Arkansas Planning will have the necessary ordinances ready to start reading in May, is what it
Correct.
sounds like.
it. Okay.
Is that right, Lacey?
No, so we would
Or,
actually.
I mean, in April.
April.
Correct, so if this is agreed upon, this area is agreed upon, I would send this area to Northwest Arkansas Planning. They would come up with a legal description, after they come up with that legal description, we would get an ordinance together. After we have a third reading of the ordinance, that information goes to the ballot committee, the election committee. The election committee is actually responsible for letting everybody in that area know that they're going on the ballot. And then it gets voted on.
Yeah. Okay.
What other ramifications is involved in that? Would they change school districts or?
Doesn't affect
No.
school district.
The tax base increase for the-
And where our coverage area would be. So it would affect us as far as we're gonna have to mow their roads. We're gonna have to make sure that the street signs all get changed to our street signs if ours are different than where theirs are.
And Goshen facilitated to do all that?
Mhm.
We do have these folks to do that now.
And if we end up with their additional tax base, that'll help to continue to grow our infrastructure to be able to support that as well. So, yeah.
Having an officer at the gold card.
Mhm.
Well, he's already partially in the area.
Yeah, and that was part of the reason too, because I asked Chief Travis, you guys have to go through this whole area to get to the area that you have to patrol. And he says, yep, absolutely. So,
I have a question. I was just Googling back there, but it says that first class, you can also have a municipal judge. Is that true?
correct. So if we decided at some point we could hire a judge to come in and hear all of our own court cases and hold them here in our own city and not pay Elkins to hear all of ours. Don't know what the cost benefit is for us yet because we'd have to look into that, but that is a possibility.
We don't have municipal courts anymore. We have district courts that are countywide elections. So it'd be one of the sitting judges, but
But they would come over.
We pay him.
we
We
could
go.
have,
Yeah.
you'd have to have a court clerk and
I don't know that.
court staff.
We better start giving tickets instead of warnings.
Probably not.
Not something I want to do.
Just kidding, Chief. Just kidding.
Thank you, Bernadette. I didn't want to think about all that.
Brian, are you running?
I'm never running again, Bernadette.
Say
Okay.
never.
So if there's no other discussion, I think we can move on to other new business. So the resolution for the RDOT grant, I brought this forward because we are wanting to apply for an additional RDOT grant. We have an RDOT grant that we've been awarded. It's $315,000. There is a 20% that we are matching that's already in the budget that's allocated. That's the portion that's gonna do our TAP grant with our trails in the park. In speaking with our RDOT coordinator at the state, she encouraged me, which I wasn't even aware that we needed to apply for it by this time. She said, the RDOT grant is up. Are you guys applying? And I said, I don't know anything about it. And she says, I encourage you to apply because there's $500,000 that, you could get awarded. And we like to see the people that are already doing those grants and getting that money and using it, get those grants to complete their trails and get more. So I think it's worthwhile. We're not asking for the city to contribute any engineering fees on this. We already have a trail that's there. We're planning on tying into that trail and bringing it up through the park. And in speaking with Luke Jost and with Kyle and with Caleb, we kind of looked at the area and we can probably do all that. Luke's going to help at this point without engineering fees being incurred. The new grants that are awarded, we can use those grants to pay for engineering fees, whereas the old ones we could not. So I think it's beneficial for us to look at this, to apply. It's not going to hurt us to apply. We're not out any money if we don't get it, but if we do get it, we could win 300 to 500,000. And I think the goal was to try to make it competitive and apply for one that's around 3 to 350. Is that correct, Kyle?
Yeah, around the 2,500 feet.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that would then add 2,500 feet to our existing trail that we already have the money and we're working on administering that grant now. And then if we, and Minwah, who's the RDOT grant coordinator that's helping with this, said if we get this grant, the second one, we end up getting into the grant and then we need more money, we can go back in for a completion grant as well the next year.
So Mayor, did I hear you correctly? If we were successful,
correct.
the 20% local match we already have budgeted.
Well, no, we have capital to be able to come up with that 20%.
It's not budgeted.
So if we got a $350,000 grant, yes, we would have to contribute 20% of that out of our budget to match that. That is correct. In the next fiscal year. So we would have time to budget for it and put it into the budget planning. And we've discussed it with the finance committee that this is something that's doable. Plus we have the capital in our savings to be able to support it. But if you guys are okay with us applying for another RDOT TAP grant, we have to have it in. The deadline for it to be submitted is Lacey knows. Sorry? May 31st. And we've already started working on getting everything together for it, Lacey and I.
And we have the team that can write it and submit it?
Yes, that's Lacey and I. That's why I've been at City Hall, and she's been at City Hall every day for the last 3 weeks. So.
Makes sense.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution expressing the willingness of the City of Goshen, Arkansas to utilize federal aid transportation alternatives program or recreation trails program fund.
You were going too fast, I didn't cut you off.
Second.
I need to read it.
We need to read it.
Read it.
Okay. Well, I thought, anyway,
To
make a
read.
motion to read in title only.
Second.
So we have a motion to read in title only and a second by John Valencourt. All those in favor?
Aye.
A resolution expressing the willingness of the city of Goshen, Arkansas to utilize federal aid transportation alternatives program or recreational trails program funds.
Make a motion to approve that.
Second.
So we have a motion by Paula and a second by John Valencourt to approve. Any public comment before we vote on this? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries. So now we will move on to the similar thing, which is the Arkansas State Park Grant. So we did not get awarded our state park grant this last go around when we submitted. Part of that we feel like was because of different changes in what is being looked at the state level. I think we have a better understanding of kind of more what they're looking for. And I think that we can apply for another state park grant. This is our last year to get the alternative match base from the property we bought last year. So we had 2 years. If we get this grant, we can still use that property to offset the 50% match. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I'm not asking for us to come up with engineering fees to come up with this. I think we can come up with it and submit it and do all the application ourselves. But I think it is worthwhile for us to at least pursue applying for another Arkansas State Park grant.
I'll make a motion to read in title only. Huh? The resolution for the Arkansas Department of State Park Grant.
Yep. Motion by John
Second.
Valencourt, second by Paula Anderson. Any public comment? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Do the.
He's got to read.
Oh, yeah.
A resolution for the city of Goshen with the Arkansas Department of Parks, Heritage, and Tourism.
Motion to approve.
Second.
So the motion to approve by Paul Anderson, and second by John Valencourt. Any public comment before we vote? Yes, Tom.
I'd just like to add just a little bit to this. What will be approved or what will be applied to will likely be different from what was applied to last year.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah.
Just
We
making
know
sure.
that. They shifted gears on us.
Yeah,
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
gotta go where the money is.
Well, and just to be clear, the team that wrote it based on what they were told to write it for. We didn't do anything wrong.
And it
They
was a
just
good
changed
idea
it.
at the time.
And we had, like I said, high points.
The governor.
It's just that, yeah.
We did. We had a lot of really good.
You've
things
already
on.
given us the RDOT update, haven't you,
No. not
on
yet.
45?
There's this is not the Highway 45 RDOT update. This is RDOT update for the state
Oh,
park grant. So, so the update on it is that and I think Kyle touched on this, we're trying to do those at the same time, with both the HUD grant that is also including part of RDOT, because RDOT is going to be included on that entrance off of Highway 45, even though we're using federal funds. So that in coordination with the RDOT grant for the trail, we're going to try to submit all those at the same time. So Ken has been working diligently to get all that stuff through for HUD. He anticipates that he's going to be finished with all of that portion for HUD, and we should get approval by the end of this month, hopefully.
yeah, that's
And then we will be able to go ahead and get the HUD funds into the account as soon as we get approval from them. That will trigger that portion of us to go out and get bids for the RDOT access off of Highway 45 using HUD funds. And then hopefully we will be done with our RDOT grant tap requirements as well. And we can submit that at the same time. And that's what Kyle was talking about. So we can hopefully get a better competitive bid. So we're hopefully going to get both of those things in at the same time. And the other thing with an RDOT update is that with that, and I talked about it in my State of the City address, but I had contacted RDOT, David Sparks, who's gone, but he was here just a minute ago, had requested a study done or a stoplight at the intersection down here. And it was already on my radar, but I was going to wait till after we did the resurfacing to ask for RDOT to do a study to see if traffic patterns were enough for us to be able to get a stoplight approved. And so I just decided, let's just pull the trigger and do it. So we asked RDOT to go ahead and do that. I think they've actually collected all the data because they've pulled down their monitoring equipment. So that was done this past couple of weeks, and we should get results on that hopefully soon, whether or not we would qualify. Some points that you need to understand is if we do qualify, there's two options. We apply for a grant from RDOT, which they will help us to get based on the need for it at that intersection. And then from that point, if we got that grant, then we would be able to have the funding come through RDOT. The city wouldn't be responsible for paying for 100% of it. If not, the city is required to pay for all of it. The difficulty there, and I've talked to John Coger, who's in the audience here, his property would have to be, part of his property would have to be taken in order to make those intersections line up directly across from each other. So that house on the corner would have to get moved, and it would have to get turned so that we can take a portion of that property. That helped to clarify like some of the process.
Yeah, it's going
So
to be.
it is not going to be a cheap process, no. I mean, initially, just to get a stoplight in there was $300,000 of just funds to put a stoplight. That does not include moving someone's house, buying property, and readjusting property lines. So we're looking at probably a $500,000 venture to get a stoplight put in there. So I think it behooves us to work with RDOT closely and to try to get a grant to help coordinate and fund that project should it meet the requirements for us to need a stoplight. So that's the full update on RDOT. Does that help?
So did they mention any recurring cost? Because we looked at that some years back and it was.
You're talking about for the stoplight?
Yes, I'm talking about for the stoplight.
She did not mention the recurring cost, but I know that the recurring cost is related to the light and the way it monitors traffic and the way that it adjusts itself to the traffic pattern on, I guess it's responsiveness. I don't know what that recurring fee is, but I can ask and find out.
Yeah, that's my point. I think it'd be good to know because we looked at it several years ago and I was surprised at how much they projected the annual recurring cost to be on top of just installing it.
Okay, and that will bring us to another item on the agenda.
Hey, Barry, real quick. I'm sorry. I think I was sneezing when you gave the 45 update. It looks like they've marked,
They've already
painted, and where they intend to fix.
No, they're going to resurface everything from Goshen here at Anderson's.
Right.
And they're going to go east to Hinesville.
But I think
So
initially, sure, they're going to have to patch some because it's falling apart. It looks like in several places they've marked 6-foot sections where it's caved in. I'm assuming.
Well, the contractor that did the project came and talked with me last week at City Hall. And there's two things. One is that they were hired to resurface and put 2 inches of overlay all the way across the road. Then they came back, RDOT came back and said, well, we have some problems with some of our base and some of the foundation that's caving in, like you said. So they asked them to go back and look at that. And then last week, and this was Thursday of last week when I spoke with him, they had still not gotten an answer from RDOT whether they were going to actually have them go back in and redo a bunch of the base and then go back over, or whether they were just going to have them do the overlay. So to answer your question, I don't know for sure where they're at with that.
The timing of that is when?
Do what?
The timing is when?
They have to be completed with the project by November.
I can tell you that today, they were at the bottom of Slaughter Mountain where
They were on
Where they
Hamilton. Mhm.
they
Where
fixed
they
that,
cut the,
taking some core samples and whatnot.
so they're probably looking at the base to see how much.
So they're looking at the base is what they're looking at.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so
a lot of this is, I'm sure, costs. We probably can put from.
From Anderson to the Highland Brook to the Madison County line, there's no more fun. There's a daytime.
Correct.
Anderson, they go, Fayetteville, it's supposed to be a nighttime drive.
Nighttime. Yeah.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
I'm sorry.
Have they said anything about closure windows for people to get that?
They didn't say anything about closure windows, and the way I understand, they're going to do one side of the highway and then the other, so they'll have one section closed off and then the other, and flagging it, yeah. And then again,
Didn't you say that they were not going to work on it during peak, like getting to work at 5 o'clock, they would do more at night?
no, Highway 45 at Anderson's West, which would be all the way into Fayetteville, all of that will be done at night. All of it, and I guess this is based on the traffic patterns that they've studied. All of it from Anderson's going east to Hinesville would be done during the day. Does that help answer?
thank you.
That's
Yeah.
what I've been told from the contractors that stopped by and talked to me, on Thursday last week at City Hall.
November's coming up.
It is.
You'll never get to work, Brian.
We'll work from home. All right. So that brings us to our next item on the agenda, federal grant briefing. And really what I want to tell you guys about the federal grant briefing, Chuck Jacobus and I have been working on federal grant money that's available. It was, I think, billions of dollars. It was part of this federal package that was sent out. And it was for infrastructure changes with charging stations and alternative fuels. And so this is the actual, grant that's available. It's not open yet, but we're anticipating it being open soon. There was awards last year. The closest award to us anywhere in our region was in Columbia, Missouri. They got a $3 million grant for a charging station to be put in this, area in Monad. We are looking to put a charging station. It would have 4 charging stations. It'd be 2 stations with 2 on each side. It is a solar panel battery pack charging station where there's no net loss or big drain on the electric company with Ozarks Electric. We've met with Ozarks Electric. We know that there's enough electricity with 3-phase there to be able to use these 300 kilowatt charging stations. We've gotten preliminaries on the solar array. We've got 2 different companies that make these solar battery chargers in the United States. It has to be U.S. product. There's only 2 in the United States that are made. We've gotten the specs on both of them. We're thinking that it's probably going to take somewhere between $500,000 and $750,000 to put these in. We have to get buy-in from the local businesses. Ponchos has already given us permission to put it on their property with the solar array panels above, and we would have parking structures underneath those solar arrays. And then the charging stations themselves would be on that far westerly corner of their parking lot. And they would pave those areas where we're going to actually have the charging station. We would have a 6-foot concrete path to Anderson's. And then hopefully if we get a stoplight, we'll have a crosswalk, and then we would devise a 6-foot path that we would include in the grant application to go to Phillips 66. I've talked to the owner of Phillips 66. He's on board. The benefit for the city is if we get these charging stations, after it's built, we get the federal money, we actually get to keep all the income from the charging that is occurring at those charging stations. The option that we are allowing at this point, unless you guys don't want to do this, we are responsible for 20% of the cost of it. But you can let Phillips 66 or Anderson's or anybody that's in the business there in that corridor buy into that match. So they can buy in on that whatever, we got 100, if we got a $500,000 grant and we had to come up with 100,000, you know, Anderson's could say, we want 20% of the income for the next 25 years. And so we're going to give you $20,000 out of that 100. Same thing. Phillips 66 could say, we want 50%. We're going to give you $50,000. So then the city doesn't have to put up the 100. We put up, 30. And so we would get 30% of the income. They would get the other percentage. So I don't know. I know that Phillips 66's owner, I spoke with him today. He's interested in buying in a percentage. He doesn't know exactly how much, but he says at least 10 to 15, maybe 30%. So of the cost of whatever the grant match would be to be able to get income in perpetuity from it. So, but this is a way that we could get additional income over the course of, the lifespan of these battery chargers. It's a 25-year lifespan. They're warranted. I forget the warranty. One's got a better warranty than the other one. I want to say one of them's got a 10-year fully warranty for everything. We anticipate with charging that we would be able to pay back that portion if we came up with the funds ourselves out of the city funds in 2 years, just on the revenue from this charging station over the course of 2 years. So.
Is it a supercharger?
It is a supercharger. So it's one that you literally plug in and you will be done charging your electric vehicle in 20, 30 minutes. Full charge.
That's my knowledge.
Yep.
I just showed it.
They do work.
Supercharger.
I will tell you. The supercharger between here and Kansas City, I plug in the Tesla and literally it'll tell you 7 minutes later you've got a charge to go to your next destination. And you can hear it wind up. So, yep. Yeah, this one is not a Tesla supercharging station. It is a supercharger, and it actually has the 4V charging, which is even better than some of the supercharging stations now. So, and I'll show you those. So this is the actual grant that it comes from the Department of Transportation, the DOT.gov. And then these are the two different types of chargers. There's the FireWire charger, and this is the specs on the FireWire charger. And these are basically big battery packs of chargers. This is the one that we initially thought we would really want, but the other one actually has better specs and has a better warranty. And the cost on both of them are about the same. So this is the FireWire, and then the other one is the X-Charge. And then I'll show you the solar concept of where the solar panels would go. And we would be the only supercharger station east of the one that's in essentially Lowell, that area up there, off of the bypass. And this would be a community project. This is not a corridor project, so we would have a higher likelihood of getting the grant from the federal government if we applied. So this would be the net zero as well. And they say net zero because this is a big battery pack. This is one big battery pack, so it doesn't drain your current electrical grid when someone comes in and charges, because it's backed up from the solar array.
Now,
and
let me ask you, do you have, that gets 100% charged, okay?
And then
it goes to Ozark.
Would offset our bill for all of our infrastructure.
That's what I'm saying. It sells back to Ozark.
Yep. So we may even negate our paying electricity bill on this building or City Hall if we generate enough electricity from it. That is correct.
Yeah.
The other thing is that if we decide to, in the future, with new technologies, to go to patrol vehicles that are electric, we have our own supercharger. This is one supercharger. You're looking at $250,000 to install one supercharger. We would be getting 2 stations, so 4 charging outlets. So
how does it work with punches though? I know they said they would be willing to have it on their property. Are we going to be leasing that area of property from them, or
no? It's because it brings business
right.
to them.
So we're just paying for the equipment, and they're
gonna have some cheese dip and a margarita.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Just don't have 2 because Jason will come after you.
And they get additional public parking because we have to get the solar array out and paved parking area too. So yeah. I mean, I think it's an outlet for them to be able to have that on their property, but I also think it does bring, some added benefit to their parking lot, their store.
My other question is too about like insurance, because obviously somebody runs into one of those poles on the solar array, or whatever the case may be, somebody deliberately damages one of the superchargers, because that happens as well. Is there going to be insurance? We're going to be footing the bill for insurance for that, because I know I've seen lots on the news where there's, people deliberately causing damage and destruction to.
That would probably be part of our personal property insurance, Jerry.
Well, but again, it's not going to be installed on our property though.
No, but it would be city
But
owned.
it's city owned.
Yeah.
So, but again,
These would all be legal contracts that we have to enter into
Yeah.
with the property.
You just put
and just, I mean, just
steel
thinking
pipes,
about
steel
other
concrete.
things we need to remember. No, I'd say still. So, I
Did
mean,
you-
there's,
Just address what Paul was talking about.
Yeah.
They can have surveillance.
mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
They basically, if a car is there, on the spot, and what you do with them, they have political surveillance, if you go back to the contract.
Right, but just because you know who does it, and you can take them to court, doesn't mean that.
Well, I'm just talking about
Yeah.
actual,
Oh.
just deter that.
Yeah, it does deter it, but
But it doesn't happen.
we are in Arkansas.
it's true. That is a good question. I mean, it's one thing I had not thought about, but
I
that
mean,
is a-
yeah.
Jason
That's
won't let it happen.
the thing. Yeah. Jason's gonna be down there watching them 24/7.
So I'm bringing this up not because I want to know if Chuck and I both want to know, because we've worked on this quite a bit. Do we have the support of the council for us to move forward to try to pursue this when it becomes available for us to apply? I mean, we'll bring it back to the council because right now it's not even open.
I mean, I think there are a lot of positives to it, but I think that, we need to be careful of all of the little things that sometimes add up, the insurance, the, questions, that just.
We can
keep an
definitely
eye
talk
on
to
that.
the municipal league between now and then to find out what that would look like.
Maybe worth calling Lowell and seeing what they do.
That's a little different. It's not a city, so that is a private. But you're right. I could call
But
and
they-
ask them what they do. Is how do they insure it? Just to
And
see.
surveillance and cameras and if it's damaged and
Cases up in Missouri where I'm sure. So
And it'd be good to know if there was liability, like Paul was talking about one, but what if the Charger screwed up their Tesla?
Yeah.
Well, and,
whatever.
if
So,
we get one of our terrible windstorms and the solar array goes flying and crashes in ponchos,
yeah,
We
that
should look at
so
it.
I will tell you that they will not install the solar array unless it's rated for. I want to say it's 150 mile an hour.
I mean, I'm
winds.
just,
It's
yeah.
kind of crazy. The
so I'll make a
specifications.
motion,
yeah.
Russell, that we
Yeah.
pursue at least applying for the grant.
Agree. I'm all for it.
All right. I don't think we need anything else. This is I'll show you the last picture of the solar array of like kind of what we've drawn up as far as the concept of where it would go. But basically, this is just the city plan, and then it would go right over there at Poncho's. And if you look at this shows you where it would go. So the chargers would be here, and then the solar covered parking would be there. So, and then we would work to build a 6-foot paved path down to Anderson's from here.
We should curve it around so we don't have to get wet in the rain after we get done.
All right. Well, we will start moving forward on that. As soon as it opens, I will let you guys know. Right now, it's not open yet. So I did talk to the DOT.gov today, and they said they anticipate it opening soon. All right. Next item on the agenda is the animal control ordinance discussion. So I think Betty's here, and she's had this experience as well. And I want to give you my experience because hers and mine have been similar. There are dogs that run loose in the city. I don't know that I knew how bad it was until I've been at City Hall working and seeing these dogs literally run around our building and growling at people, including myself. And unless they go out to try to bite me, or unless I want to pull a gun and shoot them, there's really nothing we can do. Because we have a vicious dog ordinance, but it does not do anything about leash law or having your dog in your personal control. Betty, you want to speak about what happened with you?
I was watering trees back here on a Saturday afternoon, and 2 dogs ran up to me. The brown one growled at me. I said, "Go away." Got closer and growled again. Luckily, our police officer right next door saw it, zoomed over here and talked to me. I felt very uncomfortable. So I don't know what my rights are. The chief said I could buy spray, deal with that. But you just saw these children running over here. I don't know where their parents were while we were at this meeting, okay? They're here, I know they're here, but they could be in the car on the cell phone, okay? And if one of those dogs would come up and hurt one of the kids, it's not worth it. Okay,
I
So-
personally chased them off from my girls on 3 occasions at the park. Once with Nathan's daughter and his wife right there next to me
Right.
when I chased them off.
right.
So, and Nathan's our other police officer, for those that don't know.
Yes, right over here. And so, like I said, luckily he saw this happening and he came over, he was home for lunch. So I would like something to be done, or I'm not sure what we can do, but I'm really concerned about the safety of people. And we don't have it in Waterford. I've never heard of any dogs attacking over there, so I don't know where these dogs came from. I believe it comes near City Hall, back to those houses, from my understanding. But some people that have responded on Facebook, when I mentioned this happening, they showed pictures of other dogs, white dogs, totally white, coming after them and them staying in their house. So I'm just saying it was scary and I have nothing back to water. So I know I gotta come back because, it's gotta be done, but I don't know what y'all can do.
So,
The hot thing
so I will tell you that,
today, because unfortunately, there's a lot of dogs, a lot of animals that are dumped there. Okay, so you don't know if it belongs to somebody that's on J Street or like down in Beaverama, they have a big problem with it.
yeah, and we're only talking in the city, and that is part of the problem. If you're in Washington County, you know the Washington County Animal Shelter, and they have a animal control officer that they can send out in the county. They will not send it to our city because we're a city and we should have our own. We don't. So I pulled Greenland's, Elkins, and Westport's policies. I've looked at some of the other bigger cities, but essentially we do have a contract with the Washington County Animal Shelter. We pay them a fee when we surrender an animal to their shelter. What I would like to do is model an ordinance after these ordinances and essentially come up with a plan that fits our city. We have an extra vehicle now from the old patrol vehicle. We can get a kennel to go in the back of it. We have 2 people that work for infrastructure facilities management that we can get trained to be able to respond to an animal if they need to go and catch an animal. It is a separate class if they want to use any kind of sedating dart guns to be able to apprehend the animal. But this is something that I think we really need to consider because I asked Jason today, I said, it's gonna look bad when the mayor shoots a dog because it's coming after our kids. But, 3 times and I'm running them off and then they keep coming back and growling at our kids. It's not okay. And so, I mean, I don't want to shoot a dog, but I also don't want my kids bit. And working in the ER, I can tell you that you do not want a kid get bit in the face because that is disfiguring for life. So it's one of those things where it's a big issue, and I think we need to come up with a plan of how we want to address it and what we want to do. I can send out these ordinances for you guys to look at if you want, so you can look and see what these look like. I can come up with an ordinance and make recommendations and just type it up and get Brian to look at it, see we can make changes to it. But I think we need to do something and bring it back and kind of discuss it to put it forward to come up with a plan.
Okay. Yeah.
And I called
send us those.
Yeah. And I called Municipal League today as well, just to kind of get some information about state laws that are governing what you can do with animals. And there's not a whole lot that's going to be prohibitive of us having a few kennels down here where we, hold animals for a few days before we return them into the Humane Society. And, and the reason for that, a couple of things. If we have repeat offenders that they don't keep their dogs up, we want to be able to fine them so that they will keep their dogs up after they get fined 3 or 4 times, so that they're not just running around. The other thing is, if my dog was out and it got caught, I'd want to know where it was at. And we could post it on our Facebook site and say, we have this animal in our kennel at this time. It's going to be here for 5 days, and then it'll be taken to Washington County, animal shelter. So any of those number of things, but we can design whatever we want. We just need to come up with something.
Is there a way that the dogs that you catch and pen with the chips that
Yeah, we'll
are
have to
there,
get a chip reader.
to get a chip reader so that at least you can,
Yep.
because some of these dogs go a long way. I mean, you see it on the Goshen side all the time. The dog's 5 miles from home.
Yes. Yep. The other thing too is that, and we can change it, we can amend it, we can just discuss how we want our ordinance to look. Elkins has a policy, an ordinance where if you own an animal in the city, you're supposed to register it with the city. I don't think we need to have any citizen pay a fee, but I would love for us to be able to ask citizens to register their animals with the city so that we can get a picture and we can have that animal's information on file at the city so that if the animal comes up missing, we might know who the owner is. We might not, but
You're gonna have to get a bunch of
and if they
pictures.
haven't registered, if they haven't registered their animal with the city and we end up catching the animal, they would get a fine for both. Both not registering their animal and for us to maintain the animal in our kennel.
I'm all for an ordinance. I think it may be a little overreach to make people register their pets.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not caught on that. I just want to be able to get these animals off the street.
And we don't know who they belong to, is that?
Some of them we do, but there's really nothing we can do other than tell them that
Yeah,
they need to keep their animals up. Yeah.
So the way for us to monitor this is actually a license management through iWorks, which is the same program that we use right now for our permit. So they would simply fill out a registration form, bring in a picture of their dog. That gets uploaded into iWorks, and the license that we would give them to register their dog, if that number goes into iWorks, super easy to look them up. It would also match their My ID, which is their chip reader. So all of these numbers are super easy. If a dog comes in, use the chip reader to look them up, to keep the pictures all super.
Yeah, I think that's great, Lacey. But I would bet 8 out of 10 people in here aren't going to come register their dog.
Correct, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm not going to come register my dog.
Yeah, I'm not either.
So Elkins also, if you don't register your dog and your dog does get out and becomes a nuisance or gets picked up, then if you have your dog registered, you don't pay that fine for them getting out and being, an at-large animal.
I get
You
that.
just come get your dog versus you have a
I
fine
get
or
that.
if they're not chipped or what have you. Then
I
they go to
tend to
animal control.
I'm not gonna register my dog.
No.
I mean, my dog's not going to bite somebody either.
Yeah.
So
My dog
I'm
never gets out.
not disagreeing with that
Mine
whatsoever.
either.
It's just a way to maintain
It's up in the
those
backyard.
animals.
And that's it.
His dog rolls over for you to pat it.
All right, so we will work on that. We'll send these ordinances out for you guys to look at, and then we'll try to devise something
Okay.
that seems good for us and come back and let you guys look at it.
sounds
All
good.
right. The next thing is the expansion of the community center playground. So, get this pulled up. Maybe. So we did not get the grant that we asked for from from Arkansas State Park, but we still would like to increase the size of the playground so we've got kids able to swing and younger kids being able to play on it. This is rather large for. This, I ran by it at Sam's because I was there shopping and it was out there. And I was very surprised at how durable and rigid it really was because I was thinking we need a new playground at my house. So that was originally why I looked at it and I thought, wow, this would actually be a good option for our park. So it's made by Lifetime. We purchased some picnic tables from Lifetime that makes the same company makes this. It's out of Utah. It's a United States company, family based. That I think this would be a great addition. I've already purchased it. If the city wants to install it, you'll have to reimburse me for the $2,100 it's sitting in City Hall right now. But we would put this back behind here, close to where the other one is. I've also called to find out what it would cost to get the rubberized mulch to go around it. We need 6 inches for us to be compliant with the regulations for us to be ADA. We would have that same perimeter fence of the plastic blocks. That cost would be $3,000 with the mulch, the perimeter and the mulch. So this whole system for us to get installed, because we would do all the work, would cost us a little over $5,000. I mean, we have the budget to do it. I think that even if it lasts 5 years and then we go apply and get another grant in 5 years for a bigger play structure, I think this is well worth the money to add this for the kids to play on. We do plan on pouring concrete and anchoring this down to concrete that we will pour in formed cardboard foundations underneath it before we cover the mulch, so that it's very secure and it can't blow away or tip over, any of those things. So
My opinion on this is that, number one, what we really need out there, okay, is not another slide or a climbing wall, but we need the swings.
well, this has swings.
I understand,
Yeah.
but we don't need the other part of it. Okay, and we can put in, you know, a lot more swings. You've got 2 swings there.
So I do agree with you, and we've talked about that as well. I have no problem fabricating swings. If you go look at Elkins, that's what they do.
That's right.
I mean, I've got 2 7/8 inch pipe. We can weld it together and put those swings in and have them installed this year. And we may do that, but initially, this will be the first phase of us putting something additional for younger kids that's smaller with swings so that we would at least have a swing set available early. This is here now. We could have it installed in the next month, probably. The swing sets, I'll still have to weld all that metal, and we'll still have to come down and dig holes and pour some piers for those to get mounted in, and then get the swings up. But we can do swings also. So that's next on our agenda. I did call Municipal League to make sure that if we do install this, because it's not a commercially graded swing set, that we're not in any kind of issues with liability. They said that we wouldn't be. So those are the other things that I have to think about. Like, if we're not getting, an $85,000 play equipment set that's from a commercially graded, vendor, are we at any risk of liability?
That's the other part.
And according to Caleb at the Municipal League, we shouldn't be. We should be indemnified as long as we're putting everything structurally sound together. So
My opinion is that if we have it in the budget, which you said we do, we got something for the kids to do, have at it.
I mean,
Have you driven through Johnson lately?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well,
It is.
I tell you, they've got.
Yes. Chris has been doing a lot of work getting all this funding. So if you guys want to move forward with this, we're happy to get it, put in and installed, but we would need you guys to tell me whether or not you guys want it.
I'm not for it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know my kids at that age would have much rather had the slide than the swing.
Mine too.
Just based on.
Yeah, but they've got
personal
2
experience.
slides out there now.
Are you gonna swing, John?
We know you got the slide.
I don't know. I just want my old metal slide that was 8 feet tall. And you come down and you hit the concrete or whatever's at the bottom.
Didn't have any padding, did you, John?
No.
Explains a lot.
Yeah, so I think it's a great innovative way to spend, a small amount of money to increase the play area in the short term. As a commission, the Parks Commission has voted to support this. We looked at it briefly at the last meeting and it's coming before you. So whether you act it or not, it's pretty de minimis in terms of that. There was some public comment following the Parks Commission meeting that I think is worth considering. The first thing being that in kind of the priorities that were set last year, what the public really asked for was a larger shade canopy over the existing structure to help in the summer. And it doesn't fully help in that end. It could be spending budget that could be used towards that. So we haven't considered that formally, but it is a public comment that we received, and the consideration that the colors don't match. So from an aesthetic standpoint, it's not the same. So
I
just wanted to
personally
pass
would
that.
like to
Yeah.
see the park commission weigh in on this before we make a decision. Fine.
I thought you said y'all supported.
No.
Well, we never voted on anything. We discussed it. We thought it was, we just informally discussed it, but we never voted on anything. So, and some of those comments came back after. So I just take what you will with that,
But I agree. Aesthetically, you have totally different colors.
I don't know. I would like to see the park commission consider that and consider what other options there are and what the best spend is for the $6,000 before we invest $6,000 in something that people generally, again, not everybody. I know my kids would have loved that too, but
Sure, in their backyard.
yeah. But again, they would have loved it anywhere. But I mean, I feel like that's the purview of the park commission to take a closer look at it and, make recommendations as to.
It was fully supported by the 5 parks commissioners that were there. They did not take a vote on it, but it was supported. But again, we didn't have a lot of public comment about it until after the meeting. So there weren't a lot of people there at the Parks Commission meetings, but the 5 Parks Commissioners that were there were supportive of the idea. just so that you guys are, I mean, correct, Mike? And I think it's in the minutes that way as well.
Mhm.
So
And you bought this before they gave support.
I bought this for my kid, and I'm willing to let the city use it instead of me installing it at my house, if the city wants to. If not, it's going to my house, and we're gonna put it up here on one at my house.
But I would point out too that, you know, you got that from Sam's Club. Sam's Club does have other options online that you can buy at a reasonable cost and have shipped straight to you.
They do, yeah.
So-
But that's what, on sale at like $1,600 and $400 shipping.
No,
Correct. That is what this one was. The 1,600 with
Yeah.
$400.
As I'm just
And you
saying,
can't get around the shipping because I
that's
called
what this
and
one was.
there was no way. They don't carry it in any of their stores anywhere.
And I know that there might not be a risk, but I mean, when you look at this online, it does say warning, residential use only. So quality would be a concern. I mean, you're just looking at something for 5 years, is what it sounds like.
I think this, if you look at it and go check it out, I think this would be good for 20 years. It's a very, in my opinion, I mean, it's been, you know, I don't know how many of you guys have playsets, but even the playset at my house is not a commercially graded playset, but it's been there for 20 years. And so, and it's made out of wood, and
You
the metal
don't
ones
use
tend to last even longer. So, just for, you know, for clarification, this is not gonna rot, it's not gonna rust, it's gonna be there for a very long time. Now, granted, if we decided we wanted something better or more durable in the future, then we could always purchase that with a grant. I think that if we're looking at trying to, you know, be able to provide services to the community that have been requested, this does meet one of those requests.
What was the request?
That we have structure that is more for younger kids, and then we have swing sets.
I think we ought to let the park commission look at alternatives, not just necessarily.
I agree.
Right now, you know, bring it back.
I think
We're not
you
in
need
that
to-
big a rush. Let them see what else is available, talk about it, and see if there's any public comment on that. The what Colton was saying about there being a warning on their residential use only gives me a little bit of pause. But I think it would be good to look at, even if we'd looked at other Sam's models, you know. I don't feel like right now I'm ready just to vote for that particular piece. So that's my input.
I ditto.
Sounds like Paula, Max, and John, that's the majority, so.
Well, Colton, you had your.
Colton, you have a voice, sir.
On my opinion.
Yes, it does.
No, and they already have majority, you're like, so I already said I supported
So
it.
we will discuss it at the Parks Commission again and let you guys look at other things, and you guys can decide whether you want to take an official vote at the next meeting on anything to bring back.
And then bring it back to us.
All right. The other expansion that we will be doing is that we are going to go ahead and put picnic tables around the existing play structure there. So we're gonna have some concrete poured to put the picnic tables on. And we've already bought those, and the Parks Commission's already signed off on all the picnic tables that are gonna be put in either there or at the No Branch Park, because those are gonna be put at the old chicken house pad as well. So, and they're nice because they fold to where there's actually seats or picnic tables.
Yeah.
So they have a lever that you can pull to make them sit into a bench. All right, next item on the agenda is the farmer's market discussion. I think that was Max.
Yes, and I was so glad to see Liz come in a while ago.
Oh, here she
Liz
is.
and I talked a little bit about this, and I'll let her address what we were talking about.
Wow. Thank you. Hi, Liz Massey. I grew up here in Goshen. I can serve on your planning commission, but today I'm here as one of your founders and owners of your farmers market. My sister Emily is not here tonight. She's at another farmers market event, and we've got Brett Williams and Amber Haynes here with me. We are the four women who, on paper, own the LLC that is the farmers market. But I hope that you can feel what we've been trying to create, which is something much more than just a small business, right? And so we've been really proud that over the last 3 seasons, we've brought in over $150,000 to the various small vendors, the businesses, farmers, the makers, those people who show up every week and offer to our neighbors their wares, right? So we've really been thinking about the space, and that we've been so proud to use this space here at the community building, and how much it's grown with the playground and the investments, the trails to come, all the things. So we're really talking as owners a lot about sustainability of this market. And so we continue to come back to where is that, what does that look like, and we keep coming back to the community building. And so it was shared with me that last year, almost a year ago now, gosh, we put in a resolution in place that established the extension homemakers use of the building. I know there have been some other spots where we've looked at things like that too. So it got me looking not only at how Goshen is establishing use of this building, but how other cities rather are doing markets in the area. So I've got a copy of Springdale and Fayetteville ordinances if you want to look at them. I also took the liberty of drafting one in Goshen format for you. So I'll send that around if that's okay, Marjorie. And then here's Brian's copy.
Oh.
Sorry, they're coming. They're coming down. In Springdale and Fayetteville, they're treated as basically exemptions to the sales permit process. They're given exemptions to any open air permitting. We as a market obtain an outdoor sales permit from the city every year, but the city has not required our vendors to do so. So we'd like to continue to do that. So since we're not asking for an exemption to a sales permit, it seems like it fits better in just an established use of the building by the city. And so I modeled it pretty much after the EHC ordinance, and just tried to establish why we want this, right? And why it's important to the city and what we're asking for. At this point, the market's being held once a week, 1 weeknight during the season. And then we've had a handful of pop-up events, plant sales, seed swap, vendor dinner, the holiday markets in November and December, things like that. So we'd like to continue to do that. And I've drafted this mostly for you to have something to redline, because I know how this goes. You want to have somewhere to start. And I encourage you to do that. But I want to point out that I drafted this to just say a Goshen Farmers Market and the people operating and vending there. It doesn't say the Goshen Farmers Market LLC, which is our legal entity name. And I did that on purpose. It's important to us that whether it's the 4 of us women managing this and paying a market manager part-time, she's the only one who gets paid, by the way, that's sweet Jessica you see, who physically writes the schedule and recruits the vendors and sets up the food trucks, the music, and all the vibes that you get every week. The rest of us do this because it's important to us for the community. And we want that to be established in the city, whether it's us and our legal entity or not. So I encourage you to think about this as just establishing a market. Whether it's the one that exists today or something different, I think we're at a place where we need to think about establishing and protecting the platform for the farmers market in Goshen. So that's how I've drafted it. So that's all that is. I've got, like I said, I've got the other ones I'm happy to circulate by email or the city can too. But in Fayetteville, in Springdale, they basically are like, it's this part downtown, it's this part of the Jones Center, it's this part of Botanical Gardens, these are the hours. In Fayetteville, it's a little more, as you can imagine, a little more robust, a little bit more about, the items that can be sold and things like that. By and large, and we're happy to share with you the rules of what we've got and how we manage. But by and large, we're looking for locally sourced items. We require things to be sourced within 150 miles, either made or grown within 150 miles of Goshen. Most of our things come from within 30 or 40 miles. So that spirit is what we're hoping that you'd adopt with something like this. Is just establishing that there can be a farmers market that continues to meet here and provide the service to the community.
Are y'all a 501c3?
We're not, Max, and we've talked about it a couple different times. We met with consultants and a couple different folks about that. At this point, transparently, the way that we operate as a co-owned 4-person LLC is the leanest way we can do it. It means the least annual reporting, the least. It also, unfortunately, and I'll make my plug, it means the least availability of money. We don't get that, right? That's why it's part of why we're not paying why so much is so lean, is because we don't have access to funding that a normal nonprofit would, but we frankly we operate as just about as a nonprofit. We don't profit. Our expenses are the marketing, what you see as far as the staffing, and then when we host community dinners, we pay for that.
Reason I ask, I think we agree, we may have an ordinance on them, but we have talked about the extension homemakers just saying that 501c3s can use the building is free. So this, you wouldn't go for that, so we would need something separate to establish it.
I would be supportive of that, Matt, but we did not follow it.
Some public comment.
Hi, as a representative of Extension Homemakers, please don't lump us in that category because we are completely nonprofit. We have never made a dime. Our ladies donate everything, these chairs, these tables. We've never taken anything from the city. Have you donated anything to this building?
We have tables here. We've maintained a lot on the ground. We took down the fence that has now allowed us to build the parking for the playground. And all of that, you're right. And we don't take any money from the city. All of our money is donated to local businesses that sponsor and take marketing.
Yeah, we've been since 1945, 100% 501c2, so not the same category.
I don't think it was intended to be a trust to you. That's not correct.
Okay.
So we can also drop there, yeah, so that's, I can also share the other farmers market ordinance in the area. I just don't know where they're yet, frankly, to a point where we're ready to regulate in our ordinance, the hours and things like that, but a suggestion and a request.
The discussion with the council.
Well, Liz, I think it's great and what y'all are doing for the community. I mean, it's an outlet and resource that people can come get what they like, and I think we can figure something out, in my opinion.
You figure out how to get them people out of Waterford to come down to it. And probably some of the other communities, because you can't get them off the couch.
We had another public comment.
Was that to me?
I've never seen
I think my 3 children, 15 events every night is.
I look forward to Thursday night's dinner from the farmers market.
If we have other public.
They don't even show up to vote.
Just so people know, what exactly is that?
We're asking for permission to use the building. When Max was mayor, the farmers market began frankly during COVID as a service to the community, as a way to bring us all together. Mayor Stroud was so gracious to allow us to continue that. So we just like to memorialize that in ordinance. So no change, nothing. I'm not asking for anything new from the city, just a commitment that we can continue to use the building.
I thought we'd already done that, but.
It's never, this has been, this came to me because it was one of those questions of, well, they're not a nonprofit, but they're using the facility. And I had to go back and say, okay, well, where do we have in the agreement that says they can use the facility, don't pay any fee? And we didn't have that. And so I think that that's where it's coming to you guys, because
I just thought it was included in the ordinances that we already had, resolutions.
I don't think we have any.
No. We actually wrote it down. So we
I
talked.
know we have nonprofits, but
We have another.
I don't
public
recall
comment.
Just charge them $1 for those.
Oh, for the, well, that, I think that's what we're asking for now is if we have a collective agreement and the council supports them using the facility, then that shouldn't be an issue. The concern was that there was no ordinance or resolution to authorize per se that the city supported the farmer's market. So we want to make that more of a formal relationship if that's how we want it to be maintained. It needs to be a formal relationship that we have something in writing somewhere that supports that. We had other public comments.
It's changed for them using the building to charging a fee. When they provide space for the community organizations like the Homemakers Club, the Arbor, the Society, and other things to be able to present what they have available and try to evolve. Every month.
We do that.
We do that every week. Exactly. At least to tell them support.
Yeah. And they do feed. They have a free meal. I don't know how often, but it's like you have a free meal.
Twice. You 2 to 3 times. Depending on the budget, the money.
Yeah.
I guess we need to defer to Brian as well. Is there any issue with any?
I don't think this is ready for you all to vote on tonight.
No, but as far as bringing something back,
Yeah,
It's a starting.
I mean,
point.
what
We need to-
what you're looking for is just to continue on like you have been.
correct,
That's,
With the
and
city's
just to put
support.
something,
officially.
and to put something officially in place. So you don't get kicked out.
So my recollection was to use it and you keep it clean and all that. And that was the agreement. It was a verbal agreement.
Yeah.
So that should be in the minutes somewhere.
Well, we should probably put all of this into what it does it need to be an ordinance or resolution?
Probably a resolution would be sufficient.
Yeah.
But it's not, we're not making law necessarily, it's
Yeah.
just an arrangement.
An agreement.
I'm sure it is in the minutes somewhere, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
Well, it's
I
in
know what
minutes,
you
but
mean,
it's
but,
not
yeah.
in a,
Yeah.
Go for it.
And I and I will tell you, and Max's defense of the reason I like resolutions, it is so much easier to find stuff when it's a resolution. When you try to dig through the minutes, it is hard to go back and look at years past minutes and try to find exactly where in the minutes that it either got approved or didn't, or what the rules about it were. So I think if we do bring a resolution, that'd be really much clearer, and I think it'd be easier for us to be able to find that, and be able to support that when questions are asked by the public. So,
It may not.
we have time, yeah. All right, any other public comment or council comment? Nope, okay. Thank you so much, and we do appreciate you guys very much. And then we have next item on the agenda, the certificate of deposit discussion, which I think it's just that they're coming
Yeah,
due.
we have 5
Yep.
CDs coming up.
Yep.
I'll schedule a meeting with the depository, and I think we're in good shape that we can just either
Roll
roll
them
them over or move them into new ones with a better rate.
Yes, I think that would be great. Is everybody in agreement with that? I don't think we need to pull anything out right now.
no,
We're good
I
to
don't
go.
think-
Leave it in there. Keep the interest.
I mean, the rates
are
are
good.
are
It seems
good,
like-
they're the same or higher in some instances.
Seems like what we're gonna need money for, we have money for this year, and next year we can still have plenty of time to plan for it.
It does give me pause to discuss a couple of things. We did get a security bid, which we do not have budgeted for, on cameras and security for the building at City Hall. It's $26,000, and that includes 12 or 13 cameras, which would put us in compliance with because the officers, don't have any kind of real secure evidence locker where they've got cameras or mag locks on that. I do anticipate that we will be able to have additional funding that comes through from added income this year that's not been calculated yet, just based on our revenue that we've had, year to date. But there may be a point where we need to take some money from the general fund. I don't think we need to take it out of our CDs because we still have $770,000 in the general fund. But we may need to come back when we do a relook at our budget in a couple of months for allocation for some capital improvement projects. Just something to think about. I don't think we need to stop the CDs. I think the CDs need to go back in. But I just want you guys to be aware that
And even if you have to take one, you're only gonna lose a couple of months interest
Yeah.
anyway.
but
So if we have to do it, we can do it.
I don't think we need.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, I think we've got enough in our general fund to.
Well,
manage it.
from what I saw on revenue coming in, it was considerably higher on the two items than it was a year ago.
No, we're doing well. My projection is based on the 2 months of data that we have so far, that we're gonna be coming in with about $40,000 to $50,000 of additional revenue that has not been calculated yet. So that's my projection, just based on the 2 months of data that we have. Now, that doesn't mean that's gonna be accurate. There could be something else that comes up that falls through, but we do have enough in the general fund to be able to support some of these smaller 26,000,
Do you have to have,
$30,000 expenditures for capital
or did you
that are
just
gonna
have,
need to be done for improvement. So just for you guys to have on your forethought for next meeting.
Okay.
Jerry, you had something?
And as just a general comment, at some point, we will be debating, if we do have to have funds like this year, the money that we are accumulating, it can't just keep it.
Okay.
It has to be
Something.
reason why we're saving.
Yeah.
for new city hall?
Well, that's true.
That can be. And we can.
That's what I'm saying, you
nothing else, we call it that.
You call those CDs City Hall.
Yeah, I mean, and we can say that this is our allocation for, our 1 year of, operating revenue
Yeah.
that's there.
Or 2 years, or, yeah.
Really, a year is about as much as they're gonna want us to have in there that's not earmarked for something else's future planning.
Yeah.
For capital, so. All right, any other questions about the CDs or anything?
No,
Okay.
I'll email you too about your schedules.
Perfect, okay.
They're not till April, but we want to get ahead of it. Yep.
So at this point, we're down to our reports, comments, mayor, alderman, treasurer.
That's
Do you
it.
guys have things that are items that need to be discussed?
Lights in the parking lot.
We still have not been able to secure, either we're gonna have to fabricate something or we're gonna have to figure out a way that we can actually get that light turned downward. And at this point, we don't have a way to do that. So
I mean, so
the
what?
only other option is we get, Ozarks Electric back out here and we don't have a light in that parking lot.
And the issues that they're shining in these people's homes across the street.
I'm very aware of that.
Yeah, it
So I
violates
think,
all.
I mean, I think,
does.
I think we could figure out a way to make that not happen.
If you want to talk to Ozarks Electric, or if you want to find a way to get a fabricated light shade for that, I mean, we can try, but everything we've looked at doesn't fit that light fixture that's out there. And so, and there's only, Ozarks Electric is the one that basically supplies us with those lights, and they don't carry a wide variety. They don't carry anything that even fits our ordinance in the city. The only thing they carry is 4,000 Kelvin. Our ordinance is 3,000. So
Yeah,
we can end up like taking that light down, and we'll have to put our own light somewhere. And those are the other options. We can look at that, but that's going to take capital revenue. We're going to have to. It'll be a different line item and a different expenditure. So
I think we need to do something about it.
we can have it taken down. We just won't have a light.
Maybe
in the
we
parking lot
also
right there.
need to talk with our Parks Commission about getting some lighting just around some of our park area back here as well. Maybe a lighting plan for
For the
Goshen
park.
Community, for Goshen Community Center and for the park as
It
well.
might be a good idea, because I know they do some stargazing events out here, and they probably want those shut off while they do that. So getting them put on a switch would be helpful
Yeah.
too.
You want me to look at getting that as part of a new concrete that's getting added, with light poles and things like that?
Well,
At night.
It's closed at night, but, I don't know, security? Any problems? Okay.
I mean, when we do the addition to the building, we can add lights out here that shine down because they'll be part of the building.
I mean, if
But as
we're,
far as the parking lot,
And
I don't have any other options other than we take that light down, or we pay for our own installation of a light fixture that is separate from the pole light.
if we're doing our new addition, can we add some lights down that way?
Again,
and
but
lights
they
out
have
this
to
way?
face down
Yeah,
per ordinance. But yeah, we will. We
Yeah.
plan to do that.
Plan to have that there. Yeah, I mean, we may see how those lights pan out, or, see if we add some
I
extra
guess-
lights out there.
I guess the question for me is, do I call Ozarks Electric and have that one turned off or have it removed? Because I am aware that we are in violation, and we've talked to them and we've looked at alternatives for how we can put a hood on it. There's not a hood for that light fixture. They don't offer a different one that meets our ordinance. So
maybe we just look for an alternative, if we can find a good alternative for lighting the parking area. And
it's
then
going to require us to spend capital. That's when, and it's not budgeted for. I don't mind doing it. We're just going to we'll have to amend the budget at some point to cover for it. If we
We
do
were
that.
talking about doing that anyway in a couple of months.
We are.
They don't permit you.
The question is, do you want us to have it turned off in the interim?
if I was living in those homes, I would think that. I would think that.
We haven't had any complaints from the people.
I mean, I get it, but I understand that you want the parking lot put up.
There are some
so-
people that do like bright lights right by their house though too, so,
We haven't had any complaints. If we get a complaint, I don't mind shutting it off at all. Have you had any complaints, Jason? No?
I don't think we need to be shining lights in people's windows, and this is 3 months now that we've talked about it.
I don't mind. We can, yeah. Lacey? we'll make a round with all the people that live here and see if
There are a
there's
lot of people
anybody
that
that
do.
has a concern
I don't.
about this light. Yeah. Any other discussion about anything else?
Two things, Mayor. Vincent Dollar General is still.
We actually, I signed off on, Lacey has a notice that goes out, a violation notice that goes out to them. Did you send it today? Okay.
Thank you.
What is it?
They're in violation of the fence ordinance where the fence is laying down. They also were in violation because they had
Dollar
products in
General
front of the
fence.
store. And they were given a notice for that. A warning.
I didn't actually violate them for that, but it was a warning. I put them here, the minutes. And I'm glad you guys kind of brought up the minutes versus resolutions and ordinances, because that's not in a resolution or an ordinance, it's just in the minutes. And it's agreed upon, and then you have it put out front, but.
And then the leak on Oxford Bend, that's on the to-do list.
Actually, David reached out to Fayetteville Water, and Fayetteville Water is supposed to be looking into fixing that.
So it is a leak.
So it's a water leak.
Oh, I thought it was not.
We thought it wasn't either. We thought it was coming up just from the groundwater that was bubbling up in Haberton. Dave said he called them and they said that they thought it was a leak.
Anyway, it's on our list.
It is on our list. We've actually had several phone calls and follow-ups. And I thought that RDOT was out there. I thought it was Fayetteville Water today because I saw him parked over there. I called David and said, "Hey, I need to go down there." But no, it's continuing to bubble
75
up.
degrees. That's a
Yes.
stream.
It's coming down off the hill
It's
and it's coming down the coast, down the long road and backing up because it can't go under.
but there's water bubbling up through the asphalt now. And so that's why we're, and we had the county come out and we had Fayetteville Water come out. Fayetteville said it wasn't them. The county said it was. We called Fayetteville back and said, "Look, it's bubbling up through the asphalt. County says it's your water line. You come back out and fix it." Last time I heard is that Fayetteville's gonna come back out and look at it again.
It's gotta be the water. It's been there forever.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
I'm gonna miss the April meeting. Let everybody know. All the guys all over here.
Okay. Anything else? Any public input that we need to discuss before we adjourn? Yep.
I don't know if y'all know that there's a cemetery that's located out over on JB Hunt's property. And when y'all close Salisbury Road that goes through JB Hunt's property, no one can get to that old cemetery. And we have had a couple of people come in and trying to find that cemetery and find access to it. And of course, JB Hunt has the gate locked and shut, and they can't get to it. So somebody needs to figure out, because that needs to be accessible. I don't care how old it is. It's a cemetery, family there. People want to go visit their family.
I was unaware of that.
I had no idea there was a cemetery there. They conveniently didn't tell us that.
I think there's a law
Right down by
about
the.
that, I think,
Because something like that.
being accessible.
So we will have to contact the Hunt family and find out. Yeah.
So it's been an issue with the historical society. It was actually brought up from Russell Gayer, and I'm not sure of the process to get access to that because you have to get through private property to get to that cemetery. So I don't.
It's on property now because the city decided to close that road. The city of Goshen. Yeah, the city of Goshen vacated that.
Well,
We did vacate it. We didn't know there was a cemetery there.
I did.
yeah, it was
But-
vacated.
How was that? I mean, were you here when that was closed?
Yeah,
How was the decision made to close it?
It was made because it was,
Hunt
prop-
bought all the land
the Hunt
and it
Hunt
did
family,
end back there.
They bought the land.
family
But if
owns
there's a
all the land.
Both
cemetery-
sides of the road.
There was no
Nobody knew.
no
mention of the
disclosure that there was a cemetery.
The city failed to do
But-
some research on it.
Well,
No
No.
doubt,
But Hunt's
but facts are facts.
purchased the land.
But
And
now where are we at with it? Because it used to be a city road. The city used to
So,
maintain
the
it.
city used to maintain it. We were
And now
told,
we have a cemetery that's known. Brian?
I've never researched, that's what I'm sitting here looking at.
I don't know.
I don't know.
There's a vacation.
So we will look into it because I don't, I don't know
We
either.
just had a couple of people show up at our house
Yeah.
asking if I could do it.
Yeah.
And.
You say
we
fight about, yeah.
arranged it to hunt because they own the property and they should allow them to get to the cemetery.
Yeah, this one is very reasonable, so.
Yeah.
It's not gonna family, you know, they got family.
Yeah, they probably either don't realize or, I don't know, I have no idea, but we'll find out.
A hike from our house, but, and I haven't. It's
I'll reach out to Mrs. Hunt and find out, like, if they even know it's there, so. Yeah.
All right.
One more comment. It's light. Are you okay if I figure out a way to shield that?
Absolutely, if you figure out a way to shield it, yeah. I mean, I'm totally fine with that. We just have not been able to find a product. Dave's been looking on it for
Well, I think
2.5 months.
I think Dad's machine shop might be able to
Fabricate one? Yeah, if you can fabricate a way to shield it, then that would be great. It just has to be facing downward. And the difficulty with this light is that there's not really a lot to fix anything to. It's flat, and there's not really any way to, because the way it hangs. Anyway, any other comment or questions before we move on to adjournment? No?
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Mayor?
Thank you.